All right, thank you. All right, so let us know when we're ready to go.
And you're live, Your Worship.
All right, thank you very much, Kayla. Welcome, council, welcome, staff, and welcome to the public that are joining us here on Monday, November the 23rd, 2020 council meeting. Deputy Clerk Brenda Falls is our clerk tonight, and we have a full agenda. I'm just going to start the meeting off quickly by just acknowledging it's my son's 30th birthday today. I can't imagine. How did time fly? You know, he's 30. So happy birthday to Sam.
Happy birthday.
Members of council, we have a full agenda. So I'll start with item number 1, which is closed session. We have no closed session today. Item 2, approval of the agenda. I'll read it and then I'll ask for a mover and seconder. Recommendation of the council of the township Fairview hereby approve the agenda dated November 23rd, 2020 as presented. Can I have a mover and seconder on the motion? There we are. Mr. Broderick and Councillor Leishman. All those in favor? Request to speak, Councillor Patterson. Go ahead, Mr. Patterson. Your microphone's muted, sir.
Just wanted to make sure that we've got the procedure. So I thank you for allowing that motion to come forward. And when do you want me to do that? I saw
so we have so for the purposes of the public, item 9.6 is underneath communications from the mayor. It's an item regarding the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority. There is a motion that's attached to the item, and I've consulted with Councillor Patterson and members of council that we will just ask Councillor Patterson to pull that item when we get to that section of the agenda, and we can then have a debate on it there. So it's not necessary to amend the agenda because it's already on the agenda effectively, if everybody reads the report. Is that clarified? Comfortable? Thank you. Okay, I'll call the motion again. This is simply for the approval of the agenda. All those in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you very much, council. Item number 3 is disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof. Anybody have a disclosure tonight? No? Okay, if anything comes up during the meeting, please let us know and we will deal with it accordingly. Item number 4 is our public participation period. Again, during this time of COVID and the time of our meetings being held on Zoom, we have electronic public participation. I want to remind the public that there is a form online to fill out. It's actually the correct form that allows the clerk immediate access to the information to then attach it to the agenda. And so it's very appropriate that forms are filled out correctly if public want these things included in the agenda. You have up until noon hour on the day of the council meeting to submit your public participation period. And as it were, council, we received one item today, somewhere just before 12 o'clock, from Mr. David Witzke, who locally is known as Bud Witzke. So I will have a quick review of that with you. Mr. Witzke has asked for information regarding PPE and the costs. And actually he asked several questions, many questions, in regards to the cost for some of the renovations, the glass partitions and plastic and that type of thing. And including the masks that we have here. Just as an item for Mr. Witzke to know, these are screen printed. They're not embroidered. Thank you very much. So to answer his question, because he's asking specifically about costs and about contractors, etc. Mr. Witzke, you need to actually fill out a Freedom of Information request, an FOI, in order to obtain that information, because it would be inappropriate for us to have this discussed at this session. But this information is available to you, and so I encourage you to reach out to the clerk's department, and they will be able to help you out with the forms that are necessary for an FOI request for some of the specifics that you're looking for. All right. The last thing I'll mention too on this item for council's benefit and the members of the public is that we of course have a purchasing bylaw that's been passed by previous councils, and our staff follow that purchasing bylaw, and council of course make decisions at a budget stage rather than at an individual purchase stage. So that's what council does. All right. I've answered the question that was posed to us. Is there any comment? Nothing. Thank you, folks. We are now going to move on to item 5, which is deputation presentations. We have none. And item 6 is the public meeting portion of our meeting, and there is no public meeting scheduled for tonight. So item number 7 is the approval of the minutes of our council meeting. Recommendation, be it resolved that council, the Township of Clearview, hereby approve the minutes of the November 9th, 2020 council meeting as presented. Can I ask for a mover and seconder, please? Councillor Dineen and Councillor Walker. Councillor Dineen and Walker. Any questions? I'll call the motion. All those in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. Item number 8 is business arising from the minutes, if any. Any members of council? Any members of council? Any minutes? Questions? Thank you. All right. Council, we have section number 9, which is communications from the mayor. So we have several items in here. And so I'll get through the first couple and then we'll get to item number, well, I'll tell you what, right now, Mr. Patterson, would you like to request to pull item 9.6 for discussion? Go ahead, Tom.
Yes, I would like to pull 9.6 so that we can discuss the Nottawasaga Conservation Authority letter to us regarding a support of their motion.
Excellent. All right. So why don't we move through the items and then we'll get to that item. Yes, Councillor McKechnie, did you have something too?
Yes, I would like to pull 9.2 just for a brief comment on that one.
Very good. Okay. As a matter of fact, we're going to get right there. Anybody else? Okay. Councillor McKechnie, let's talk about number 9.2. It's a letter from Norfolk County in regards to cannabis, illicit cannabis operations. There is a recommendation on the floor. Would you like to speak to it first?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship, and I'll keep my comments brief. So as the first recital from Norfolk County indicates there in their resolution, the first recital states that this is a significant issue in many municipalities. And when I was reading their recitals, it appears to me anyway that Norfolk County was caught with its guard down. And as a result, they now have to deal with approximately 70 cannabis grow operations, both legal and illegal. And we've been fortunate in Clearview that we are now getting out in front of this issue. And hopefully we will be able to properly locate and regulate future cannabis facilities in Clearview. And I understand a number of other municipalities are supporting Norfolk's resolution. And I think it is imperative that we send a strong message to the provincial government that we are also concerned about the proliferation and regulation of cannabis production facilities in the province, and that we support this resolution as well. So that's, I just wanted to say that I hope that we can all support this resolution and recommendation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor McKechnie. I'll read the motion, look for a mover and seconder, and then there's any further debate, we can have it there, but thank you for those opening comments. Recommendation, be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby support the resolution passed by Norfolk County Council at their meeting held on October 13, 2020 regarding illicit cannabis grow operations. I'll look for a mover and seconder to get it on the floor. Go with McKechnie and Lamers. McKechnie and Lamers. Anybody else with any comments in regards to this? Any questions? All right, Council, you're being very, very good tonight. That's great. Let's call the motion then. All those in favor? All right, that passes unanimously. Thank you very much. And I'll just acknowledge that Her Worship Mayor Chop and her council passed a very good resolution, and we support that. Thank you very much. Item number 9.3, YMCA letter of support. Anybody, any questions on that? Seeing none, the NVCA monthly newsletter. It was interesting reading. Anything, any comments on that? Nothing? 9.5 is the Simcoe Muskoka District Health Unit Annual Community Report. Any questions on the Health Unit report? They've been super busy, as you can imagine. It was quite an interesting report. And number 9.6 is the item that Mr. Patterson asked us to pull to have a full debate. So, Mr. Patterson, I'll give you the benefit of kicking this off, and then we'll go to your motion. Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you. I'm going to refer loosely to some of my notes because I appreciate the mayor's allowing this motion to go forward as we did. And I also thank council for addressing this issue. It is a time dependent, and So I am going to try to cover as quickly as possible by referring to some of my notes. But we all know what it's like to be managed by edict. Some of us in council remember the Green Energy Days when we lost our planning and an appeal responsibility, and felt left out in the decision-making process. And recently, we're familiar with the current province's early attempt to regulate councils through the RGR. We wanted to be involved then. We want to be involved now, and we spoke up to have our opinions heard, and we wanted it to be done in an orderly and a timely manner. That's how I feel today about how we as municipalities are being left out of the discussion regarding the environmental safekeeping of our community, of something that we know much about, and I think we should be consulted. My motion supports a measured approach to ultimately ensuring that our environmental protections, which we have come to take as essential to the safety of our source water supply and the key to minimizing the dangers of natural hazards such as flooding, loss of stream and shoreline natural habitats, and to assure safe economic growth, and most importantly, to assuring our residents protection against the rising hazards from climate change. Should we consider reforms through the partnerships we have with the conservation authorities? Of course. In fact, work has started and over the past year and expected to continue until Bill 229 caught us by surprise. It should be allowed to continue, that is the consultation, and expanded to include specific comments from municipal councils. And also it should be, surprisingly, you may hear, be interested in knowing, it should include individual CAs, while different spokespeople from municipalities and conservation authorities have met with various ministers at the province. The agencies, municipalities, and the authorities have not been asked for their opinion, and neither has the public. And by the way, none of the consultation material that's been gathered to date has been made public. And I emphasize, regardless of your view on how and by whom these environmental protections should be managed, there is more work to be done, and it should involve a broader audience, including us. The omnibus bill, if you've had a chance to look at it, you have seen that it has 44 separate schedules in which amendments, largely budget measures, are put forward. They cover everything from alcohol, gaming, cannabis, assessment acts, that's property taxes, commercial tenancies, credit unions, education, employer health tax, financial services, fuel tax, highway traffic act, insurance act, mortgage brokerages, pension benefits, tobacco taxes, and shoved in the mix, the Conservation Act. Something as fundamental as the management and protection of our natural heritage and source water supply deserves a more transparent and collaborative review than the treatment is getting in Bill 229. I will highlight some of the four of the whereases, if you like, just to emphasize, I think, what's important about my motion.
If I can interrupt you, Tom, I've just reviewed it, and I'm going to be asking you to read this entire motion, okay? You'll be the one getting to read it. Lucky you.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'll try to read it without comment, if I can just finish some of my comments here.
No problem.
And then the CAs will not be allowed to participate in appeals. So the question is, who will present the environmental concerns that will be before municipalities when we're considering environmentally sensitive developments? Or our residents individually worrying about the building on or managing their properties, residential and agricultural. Under the provisions put forward in 229, councils will lose access to some of their tools and resources. What this means is that there's a possibility that conservation park management may be discontinued. That would mean a loss of revenue to the conservation, putting them in even more weaker position financially than just managerially. The duty of board members is an odd one and almost universally panned by in this bill by legal people, and it's recognized widely as not an acceptable practice. In other words, the government is proposing that that elected officials, councillors, I am one, Councillor Leishman was one, can only represent the municipality as a board member. Now, there's a long-standing practice. When you join a board, your accountability, for example, in the corporation, is to the company, not to the shareholders. In institutions like the hospital, it's to the hospital, not to the municipalities or individual interest groups. Even in municipalities, there's a separation in terms of the operations, the staff, and the oversight, the councillors. It would be like us deciding that individual ward councillors could only speak for their ward and not the township. So it's kind of a backward step. I will leave it there. I'm prepared to take questions after we put the motion on the table. And councillors, regardless of how you feel about the NVCA and conservation authorities in the past, I know all of you are concerned about environmental safeties to our residents. Please consider moving this piece of legislation out of the bill and into the environmental registry, where I think we all can have a structured and a constructive dialogue on this. Thank you.
Great. Councillor Patterson has presented a motion to us. It is in fact attached to the letter from the NVCA. Councillor Patterson has shared his minor edits, and so I would ask Councillor Patterson if you would like to advise what your minor edits are, so that the transparency to the public could be clearly outlined. Because I know that in your now therefore be it resolved that there are a couple of changes to what you have in the actual letter. Could you review that? And then I'm going to ask you to find a mover and seconder on this motion.
Okay. Well, I will move the motion, and the motion, the major change, the changes I made were in the preamble, what we call the whereases.
Yeah.
And the one that didn't appear in the NVCA, but the NVCA now endorses, given that the NVCA motion was written 2 or 3 days ago, and time has passed and more information has been gathered. I will say that it's actually, I'm not sure I made too many changes to the whereases.
I don't believe you did, actually.
I'm going to move to the now therefore be resolved. I reworded the motion to include that the province introduce any such amendments to the Conservation Authority as a standalone legislation through the Environmental Registry, as prescribed in Section 33 of the Environmental Bill of Rights, 1933. Therefore, allowing conservation authorities, municipalities, and the public to participate in the provincial decision-making process. And the last administrative change I added to the resolution was, and further that a covering letter and this approved resolution, should council approve it, be forwarded on or before 7:00 p.m. December 2nd, 2020 to the committee clerk, attention Julia Douglas, and I won't read the address of the Legislative Assembly in Ontario. And then a number of GCs, including the Premier, the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Environment, the Minister of Municipal Affairs, the Minister of Natural Resources, Conservation Ontario General Manager, and Chair, and also a copy to AMO and Roma. Those are the changes.
So again, I'm going to ask for the mover and seconder. I'm going with Councillor Patterson as the mover. I'll ask if there is a seconder on this motion. Councillor McKechnie is seconding the motion. And so Councillor Patterson, I'm going to ask you to read this. If you want to defer, I would read it if you want, but if you want to read it, I think that would be appropriate to give you the opportunity to present the entire piece. Are you comfortable with that, or do you want me to read it?
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Thank you. Whereas,
Sorry, to interrupt again. We're going to then have a debate about this after this is read. Okay, folks? Thank you.
okay, thank you. Whereas the province has introduced Bill 229 to protect, support, and recover from COVID-19 Act, Schedule 6 of which is the Conservation Act. And whereas the legislation introduces several changes in new sections that could remove and or significantly hinder conservation authorities' role in regulating development, permit appeal process, and engaging in review and appeal of planning applications. And whereas we rely on the watershed expertise provided by local conservation authorities to protect residents, property, and local natural resources on a watershed basis by regulating development and engaging in reviews of applications submitted under the Planning Act. And whereas the changes allow the minister to make decisions without conservation authority watershed data and expertise. And whereas the legislation suggests that the minister will have the ability to establish standards and requirements for non-mandatory programs, which are negotiated between the Conservation Authority and municipalities to meet local watershed needs. And whereas municipalities require a longer transition time to put in place agreements with conservation authorities for non-mandatory programs. And whereas municipalities believe that appointment of municipal representatives on conservation authority boards should be a municipal decision, and the chair and the vice chair of the conservation authority boards should be duly elected. And whereas the changes to the duty of members contradicts the fiduciary duty of a conservation authority board member to represent the best interests of the conservation authority and its responsibilities to the watershed. And whereas conservation authorities have already been working with the province, development sector, and municipalities to stream and speed up permitting and planning approvals through Conservation Ontario's client service and streamlining initiative. And whereas changes to the legislature will create more red tape and cost for the conservation authorities, their municipal partners, and potentially result in delays in the development approval process. And whereas municipalities value and rely on the natural habitats and the water resources within conservation authority jurisdictions for the health and well-being of residents, municipalities value conservation authorities' work to prevent and manage the impact of flooding and other natural hazards. And municipalities value conservation authorities to work to ensure safe water supply. Now therefore be it resolved that the province of Ontario remove section 6 from proposed bill 229, protect, support, and recover from COVID-19 Act budget measures, and that the province continue to work with conservation authorities to find work solutions to reduce red tape and create conditions for growth, and that the province respect the current conservation authority and municipal relationships, and that the province embrace their long-standing partnership with conservation authorities and to provide them with the tools and financial resources they need to effectively implement their watershed management role, and that the province introduce any such amendments to the Conservation Authority Act as a standalone legislation through the Environmental Registry as prescribed in Section 33 of the Environmental Bill of Rights, 1933 EBR, thereby allowing conservation authorities, municipalities, and the public to participate in the provincial decision-making process, and further that a covering letter in this approved resolution be forwarded on or before 7:00 p.m. December 2nd, 2020. And that letter to be sent to the committee clerk, attention, Julia Douglas, Legislative Assembly of Ontario, Standing Committee of Finance and Economic Affairs, 99 Wesley Street West, room 1405, Whitney Block, Queen's Park, Toronto, ON M7A 1A2. CCs to the Honorable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, Honorable Rod Phillips, Minister of Finance, Honorable Jeff Yurek, Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks, Honorable Steve Clark, Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing, Honorable John Yakabuchi, Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry, Conservation of Ontario, Kim Gavin, General Manager, Conservation Ontario, Wayne Emerson, Chair, to AMO and to Roma.
Great, thank you very much, Councillor Patterson. Members of council, I believe this was forwarded to you earlier by email, and you should have it available to you if you wish to review it. So at this time, we'll open up the floor for looking for any members that have any comments on this discussion item. Any members of council? Councillor McKechnie?
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, first of all, I'd like to thank Tom for bringing this to us. I had about 4 computer screens open today trying to make sense of of everything. When it comes right down to it, I think that Tom's motion, his amendments, makes it a lot clearer than what the motion was or the resolution that the NVCA had proposed. So I'm able to, I was going to support the original resolution from the NVCA, and I'm even more happier to support this one because I just find that it makes it a lot clearer, and it sets things out properly. And so I agree with everything. I mean, I just think that if we don't support this, and if Bill 229 goes through as proposed, then we are losing a lot of power for any sort of regulation on for the environment. And I wholeheartedly support this. And I'm glad to see that Keith White sent us a letter too today, and saying that the NVCA had supported Tom's resolutions or his amendments. The only question I would have of Councillor Patterson is, how will this affect the original resolution that the NVCA has sent out? How does it affect that? Will this resolution be part of theirs? These amendments be part of theirs now, or how do that dynamics work?
I would suggest actually, Councillor Patterson or Councillor McKechnie, that when the organization, the NVCA, sent it out to all members, that each house, us being a house, we could make amendments to it ourselves too. So Councillor Patterson's amendments are simply just amendments, but certainly the messaging is what Councillor Patterson obviously is trying to achieve. Councillor Patterson, do you have anything further?
Yes, precisely. This is an opportunity for us to make an initial take an initial position on the inclusion of Schedule 6 and 229. As I said in some of my earlier emails to council, the public doesn't have the benefit of seeing that, although I would make them as public comments. This is, in a sense, the time limitation has been put on this bill, and it's a way of fast tracking the bill. And there is justification. I understand some of the parts in the bill. It's to react to the impact and the harm of COVID-19 to various ministries. Whether or not Conservation Authority is amended and reformed is not integral to that bill. This is what often happens when you have an omnibus bill. It tries to catch everything, and quite frankly, I believe something as important as Conservation Authority, whether you dispute the Conservation Authority should do it or somebody else should do it, the attention paid to environmental and climate change impacts should be standalone legislation and have their own view. So this is our first attempt tonight. This motion will be then sent as a collection, if council should approve, to the ministry. ministries involved. And I sat in on just as a note for council to understand, there are hundreds of people right now in Ontario that are going through this same thing all day today, on the weekend. I sat in the Grand River Conservation Authority special meeting that they had today, and some of the names you might know: Chris White, Amo, Mayor, number of mayors, a lot of people there that were concerned. Different opinions about the Conservation Authority, all concerned that this process was going this way. So they all want their say. So this is our.
That's great. I think there's other members of council who may have comments. I'm looking for any other members of questions or comments they'd like to bring forward. Any other members? All right, Tom, I'm prepared to call the motion. I do have the privilege, Tom, I have the privilege of speaking about this too. But if you want more to say, Tom, you go right ahead.
Well, just one closing
I'm
comment.
being very polite about this whole thing, so go ahead.
I don't think it's a matter of being polite, but I appreciate the politeness. But I think it's being comprehensive and doing our diligence on a matter that really was thrust upon us. I think, anyway, I want to say is keep in mind that if not the conservation authorities, if they're severely curtailed, then who? There is a lot we don't know right now. There's a lot I've heard about through my involvement with the NVCA board that's not in the public domain. So it behooves us to consider finding out more by being more involved in the process. And to me, that I think this is my suspicion is that the responsibility for our community's safe environmental health, if you like, will still be ours. And we won't be able to rely on an agency like this, the NVCA. We will have to find other means, or other means will be developed. And making the decision tonight and not asking for more consultation means that we're agreeing with the province on very little information. And that's why I put this forward as to take it out of the 229 and put it into the registry. And that would assure us in our involvement. It takes some time to do it. Those are my comments.
Thank you. Councillor Lamers has put up his card. Please go ahead, Councillor Lamers.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, and your whereas is here, changed legislation will create more red tape and cost for their conservation authorities and their partners. Why is it going to cost more red tape?
Well, you notice one of the things that may be beneficial in this piece is the province is attempting to put some kind of a standard time frame in there, which is an issue. And I'm not opposed to having that discussion about how long it should take for a permit to be issued, barring some special conditions. But in there, they're saying is 120 days in part of the clauses. It's 120 days if a permit hasn't been given by the Conservation Authority, then the applicant, the developer, the homeowner, can go directly to the tribunal. Okay, now that's the LPAT. And I mentioned earlier that the Conservation Authority will not be able to present their rationale, their information. So who will? Who is the municipality going to rely on? Because we're still concerned about the environmental compliance of an application. That's why we today go to the conservation authorities. Who will we rely on for flood management and habitat health? Is that going to come to us? Will we be at LPAT? Good questions to ask. Better to get the answers.
Anybody else with any questions or comments? Deputy Mayor?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. And I'm not going to support this motion because I feel there's more information I need to hear before I would support this motion. I mean, there has been talk that the responsibilities, these environmental responsibilities would be shifted up to the upper tier. In our case, would be county planning people would then be involved in, looking after the environmental issues that would appear. Because right now, it appears there's a lot of duplication going on that's costing time and money to applicants. And so I'm not prepared to support this at this time because I feel the province will, at the end of the day, they're not going to abandon the environmental issues. So, and I think it's time that the conservation authorities are to be reviewed and get them back to their basic responsibilities.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Is there anybody else with any questions or comments? I see Connie Leishman's up. Go ahead, Councillor Leishman.
Thank you. Tom, you're implying that there's not going to be any conservation authorities at all, and I don't believe that's the case here.
Tom?
Oh, I'm not implying that. I said curtailment. I meant weakened. Okay, and so and better managed. Well, if in fact the conservation authorities can't represent their side of the mandate when there is an appeal, who will? I think we should think of it through our lens, the municipalities. I know I'm speaking to you with knowledge as a board member, but this is a municipality council meeting tonight, and we still are we. I hope we're all equally concerned about environmental protection in our community. I've never heard anyone on our council, after many years, saying that the climate change is a hoax. So we do worry about these things. The question is, and the deputy mayor makes a good point, that other people are considering it. Well, when he says, for example, that I need more information, December 2nd, mid-December, the bill will be passed before the session ends. December 2nd is a deadline to get the information into the standing committee. Okay, it's again, time allocation, rushed it through last week and passed second reading, and it is moving to passage. So I mean, I think, and this is not taking a vote for or against who does it. It's saying we need more information, just like the deputy mayor said.
Councillor Patterson, I just want to caution you on one thing. Other people want to ask questions, and if you're bouncing around between different people, I'm not going to be able to keep track. So I know that you were answering a question to Councillor Leishman, and then the deputy mayor, you mentioned his comments, so obviously he wants to respond too. So let's just try to maintain this order. Councillor Walker also put up his card. So first, I want to go back to Councillor Leishman because she posed the question directly to Councillor Patterson. Go ahead, Councillor Leishman.
I guess my problem is, Tom, that if conservation authorities were working the way that municipalities could work with them, then this wouldn't be happening. But I'm having this feeling, and I was getting that feeling even when I was on the board, that there was a lot of complaints about the authorities and what they had to say about development and progress and so forth. And if really, if they wanted to work with the municipalities, then we should have a better feeling about them, and we don't. And the reason we don't is because they've been roadblocking us in a lot of ways. And quite honestly, our planning department are doing quite a good job, and we do have good engineers on retainer that are doing a great job too. And we do care about our environment. It's actually in our what do you call those? The pillars. The pillars, thank you. The strategy. So we're not abandoning the environment. We're not letting it go. We're actually going to use our planning department the way it should be used. And hopefully the NVCA will listen to us once in a while. And I'm sorry to say that. I loved working with them. I thought they were great people. They do great work. They did a great job on our streams and rivers, and we helped them. We did add some money to the kitty for that and the work that they're doing. So, I mean, I understand that you know, we need them for those things. And the education that they do. And then when we have people going to the Conservation Authority looking for permits, basically it's a long time to wait. And you're saying 120 days. Well, I'm sorry, but there were cases where they went past that and I had to deal with them and I didn't like it at all because it was pretty much a given. Anyway, so I'm sorry to ramble on, but I'm sorry, Tom, I can't support it. I think it has to be reviewed. Maybe this is a little heavy-handed, I do admit, but it's getting done and it's long overdue and maybe it should be done differently, but it's not at this point. But I'm confident we'll come back because it is a strong association as well.
Thank you. The Deputy Mayor is next, and then Councillor Walker. Go ahead again, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship, for letting me speak again on this subject. So let me be clear about one thing. I support the NVCA as a commenting agency, and I think we need to rely on them as a commenting agency. I don't support them being an approval agency. There's too many times when, you know, the NVCA says we've got an issue with this hill or with this, and so the individuals hire engineers to come up with legitimate engineering solutions, and they're not acceptable to the NVCA. They want something different. Well, we know that you put two engineers on the same project, they're going to come up with different solutions to solve the same thing. So that's, I certainly respect their influence as a commenting agency. I don't support them as an approval agency. And that's what's been holding development back is we have to rely on them as an approval agency. Where if it goes to the upper tier, we got to go through the upper tier and follow the upper tier planning regulations and everything else anyway. So it just sort of makes sense to go that route.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Let's go to Councillor Walker next, and then looking for anybody else's card. Thank you. Councillor Walker. Robert, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess my only comment is be careful what we wish for, because at one point in time, we were all against the NVCA as far as approvals, timelines. We had asked for review. We had asked for the government to step in and help us get through some of these timing issues. And now they have. Have they overstepped their boundary as to how tightly they want to control? Maybe. But I think we had asked for this type of review on the conservation authorities. And now the government has come forward and says, here we are, we will do some of these reviews. So I just wanted to say that, you know, we had asked for some of this to take place. And I think they are giving it to us. Whether they're going too far or not, I can't answer that. But I know the environmental, as Councillor Leishman said, has never been an issue. We have supported that fully. And I believe that will not change at all.
Thank you, Councillor Walker. Councillor McKechnie, you just moved on my screen. There you are. Anybody else? Any other comments? Fair enough. Thank you, Councillor Patterson, for bringing forward your motion. It's my opportunity now to speak. I have a couple of things I'd like to say. First of all, this council has heard me speak in the chambers when we had our CAO from the Conservation Authority in the room. And I made a very good point to him, of which I've said before, even before becoming mayor, that this municipality is the member of the NVCA. We, as a municipality, we are the member, all right? We appoint a member to go to that position, and it would be the prerogative of the members of this council to decide to not have that person represent or represent. So the question that's in here about whereas is the member has to be authority to or loyal to the board first rather than the municipality first is incorrect. It's fundamentally incorrect. The taxpayers of the Township of Clearview, they elect us. It's our responsibility underneath a sworn oath to protect the taxpayers' dollars. We are the member of the Conservation Authority. It's not separate, and it should never be separate. But for some reason, the NVCA and other conservation authorities have set themselves up to have independent boards. And therein lies the problem with the fact that some municipalities appoint somebody who's not even an elected official. That actually happens. Can you imagine? So the accountability back to the taxpayer is really important to me. So I've always believed in that, and I think that we need to have that clear representation on that board. The second thing is the refocusing of the objectives of the conservation authorities, which was first announced by Minister Yurek and the Premier at the AMO conference. It started out as a simple message that was sent out by Minister Yurek, and then became a tweet, and then he stood on the stage at the AMO and spoke about it, and that's where it was announced. And then there was subsequent lots of comments being said, and our conservation authority, the NVCA, the CAO, went off and wrote his own rebuttal to it without even consulting with the board of directors, without even consulting with his partners, us, the municipalities. He just wrote it off on his own. I think that that was inappropriate. I think it's more appropriate to understand that we are servants. We are here at the pleasure of the province of Ontario, and that's what we have to accept. And whether, as Councillor Leishman says, it might be heavy-handed, I think that it's appropriate how they're handling this, knowing full well that there's going to be a lot of pushback about whether the boards at the CAs across Ontario are functioning properly and whether they're actually focused on the primary objective. And then the primary objectives of the conservation authorities, in my opinion, and it's clearly in their act, to look after flood management and flood mitigation. To protect property is what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to be protecting property, to support agricultural interests. And yet our conservation authority has not been emphasizing that key focus and that key responsibility very well at all. I brought it up that, in the spring of the year, Lake Edenvale forms on the Nottawasaga River just off of Highway 26. That farm field continues to dump soil into the river. That then flows down the riverbed, and it's been going on for some 50 years, such that Jack's Lake is no longer a Jack's Lake anymore. It's a Jack's Swamp, and the fish habitat have been completely damaged by all that sediment going in there. It's not good management of our rivers, and we should be looking to our conservation authority to do better work when it comes to flood management. That's exactly their task. And then another item about flooding, Councillor Patterson and I attended a local engineering firm who developed a flood forecasting software. We learned a great deal about how flood forecasting is a valuable tool that can be available to the municipality, to the conservation authority, to developers, contractors, to the county, and that was presented to the board at the NVCA, and they frankly rejected it. They rejected the gift that was being offered to them to have access to this, piece of software and forecasting data that was made available to them, at no charge. In fact, because the engineering firm had worked right here in this watershed, they wanted to work as a partnership with the NVCA, and then it didn't seem to pan out for them for some reason. All in the, this whole thing has been really messy. And I'm frankly not impressed as your mayor to be here at the office when in normal times, to have citizens come in and speak to me upset about the fact that they're waiting for their building permits because the NVCA have not responded to them. One of the first things that happened when I became mayor was our Habitat for Humanity project over here on Quebec Street in Stayner. It was delayed because the NVCA were not reviewing a sidewalk. The sidewalk was in a flood zone right on Quebec Street, not the building, the sidewalk was in. And so it was delaying the building permit. Ridiculous, unacceptable that the NVCA sat on that file. I can't believe that it took forever for them to get that done, holding up a really valuable project and keeping a family from getting into their homes. Listen, there are many examples that I can come up with. I'd be happy to meet with any one of you to talk to you about it. And I'm sure you have heard from members of the public about the service levels that we receive from the NVCA. So it'll be of no surprise to any of you. It'll be no surprise to my friend and colleague Marion McLeod, who I respect a lot. It'll be no surprise to Keith White. I'm not going to be supporting this motion as presented tonight at this council. It would be my hope that the government of Ontario will do a full review of the CAs and come back and refocus the CAs on their primary objective. Members of council, thank you for letting me speak. I have an opportunity to now call for the motion. Is there any further? All those in favor? Oh, Mr. Patterson would like to jump in again? Go ahead.
Just quickly, just so we're not, this is the only opportunity we're probably going to have this discussion in public. Some of the things that just aren't true. With all
What's that?
The flood management agreement that you referred to with agreement with the firm in Collingwood was ultimately agreed to, and there was a partnership done, and that was approved by the board. The duty of management, that's just a management process. That the Institute of Board of Directors, the Monk School of Management, various law firms that look after ethical management of boards, they all would see this and have commented on the fact that this is clearly not the way that accountability is apportioned out when someone from one agency, a municipality, joins another agency. They are accountable to that. And in other words, I'm as a municipal councillor, I'm accountable to the NVCA for the objectives and the mandate that they have, or else I can't be true. And why would I be on the board? And there's no harm in that, because the municipality works at our level. And in this case, the Conservation Authority works at the watershed. So we have to have broader concerns. And we do that all the time. One of the things that you're bringing, Mayor, to this term is broader township-wide policies. Stop talking about just the ward. It's a simple analogy, much lower in scope, but you don't want us, and oftentimes you comment on it, you don't want us managing just the ward just because I'm the ward councillor. You want us to think of Clearview, broader. That's where accountability is. Yes, I was elected by people in the ward, but my accountability is broader. That is a simple example of what we're doing here, and the province is undoing that. I suspect that there'll be a lot of pushback on that. And to the comments that various have made, that we've talked. This council, to my knowledge, has never been asked as a council, nor have we spoken as a council and given our opinion on the NVCA. So we've approved budgets, we've had discussions, but on this matter, we are voiceless. There is nothing in front of the ministry that says clearly this is Clearview Township's view. That's all, in essence, that's all I'm trying to do, is to have us, and we can say all the things we've said here. I respect all those opinions through this process. That's what this effort is all about.
Thank you, Councillor Patterson. Yeah, you're absolutely right. We do have to look at the entire township in all of our legislation and everything we do. That's one of the things that makes us serve our whole community. And that's why this motion is impactful to the whole community, as is all the actions being made by the province of Ontario are impactful to our community. And so we are still servants of the, we're here simply because they choose us to be here, the province of Ontario. And so we will continue to serve underneath the rules that are given to us. Council, I have nothing further. Do you have nothing further? I'm looking forward to your participation. You've heard the lengthy motion. I will not read it again, but I will ask to call the motion at this time. All those in favor? Members, those opposed? And that motion is defeated. Thank you very much, Council. And thank you, Councillor Patterson, for bringing it forward. All right, we do have another motion on section 9, which is the recommendation be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby receive the communications from the mayor for information. Is there a member of council who would like to move that motion? Councillor Walker, seconded by Councillor Leishman. Any questions? All those in favor? And that motion carries. Thank you. All right, council, item number 10 is the county reports for information. Wow, Deputy Mayor, Deputy Warden, we have a big county meeting tomorrow. Would you like to jump off with a conversation about the county reports? Deputy Mayor?
Very good, Your Worship. So let me start off by saying a thank you for giving me a chance to speak. So a couple of things I'd like to mention at county is first thing, tomorrow is our actually last county meeting before the inauguration that comes up on December 8th. But tomorrow we will be ratifying the 0% budget, assuming it's going to get ratified. There may be minor changes to it, but at the last meeting, it looked like we were pretty much on track for that 0% budget. So let's keep our fingers crossed and that goes through at 0%. The other thing that's come up at county is the fact that the regional governance review regarding efficiencies, the committee that was in charge of that, which was headed up by the mayor with Beach, is out, and it will go to council for approval, and they're recommending to get third-party consultants to find some efficiencies in the areas of fire services, land use planning, library services, stormwater management, legal services, transit, and water and wastewater management. And the funding for hiring those third-party consultants would come from funding from the province, because there is money available put out by the province for municipalities and upper tier governments to find ways of efficiencies. That's about it for.
All right, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. It does look like a full meeting tomorrow. I look forward to it, and I expect it'll be well well into noon hour by the time we're done. Perhaps, I don't know. Could be a 3-hour meeting or better. Anybody have any questions of the day?
If I may add that all the chair positions, people will be announcing their declaration to run for the chair and vice chair positions. That's corporate services, human services, and corporate management. Those three chairs and vice chairs positions will be those intended on running, will also be voted upon, as will the deputy warden's position be voted on December the 8th.
Excellent. Well, good luck with that, and we'll look forward to those results. I saw Councillor Lamers had his hand up. Go ahead there, Councillor Lamers.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm having trouble with my computer. I missed Barry's whole speech.
Oh,
He started, my computer went blank, and I missed the whole thing until he finished talking. And I can barely hear you now, so I'm going to be blipping in and out.
okay. Yeah. Just as a little tidbit for everyone, Zoom did do an update on the software recently. And so if you haven't been using Zoom, you probably should spend a minute and do an update on the Zoom software. There's a feature for doing that. Once you're actually off of a Zoom meeting, there's a way to do it online. So you might want to do that just to update your computers. And if you're having any difficulty, contact Magdalena, of course, who is our IT wizard. She's amazing. As well, I understand that we're getting a little bit more internet services around our community. Mr. McKechnie, I think the bell tower down on the 2728 has been finally activated. So that's the story I heard from somebody the other day. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, Deputy Mayor, you're back up. Go ahead.
Yes, Deputy Warden, the other thing, geez, I'm sure we all know, but I should make the announcement that the Simple Muskoka House Unit has now registered as.
Yep. We lost the Deputy Mayor there, didn't we, guys? Yep. Go ahead, Phyllis.
I do think it's Barry's because it's been going in and out.
Yeah, I think Deputy
I
Mayor.
don't think it's yours, John.
Yeah, I think Deputy Mayor, your internet's going in and out, unfortunately. We lost you there when you were talking about going to category.
You on the internet?
So anyway.
I will tell Mrs. Deputy Mayor, Deputy Warden to get off the internet while I'm doing the meeting.
Sorry, Lorraine, maybe go for a walk or something and get away from Barry for a little while.
I'll ask her politely to get off the.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, I feel your pain, folks, and anyway, thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. It'll be an interesting meeting tomorrow for sure. I don't have anything further on that. So what we will do is go to item 11, which is our council reports and committee announcements. I'm going to start with our board reports. We're going to start at the top of my screen, and I have Councillor Broderick, top right. Go ahead, Councillor Broderick. Then it'll be Walker and then Deneen. Go ahead, John.
Thank you, Your Worship. On November the 17th, I attended the library board meeting. November the 18th, I attended the Clearview Chamber of Commerce meeting. On the 19th, I had a lengthy discussion with Mr. Robert Johnson on the CAO search. On the upcoming on the 30th and the 7th are the two upcoming Clearview budget meetings. And December the 8th will be the next Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting. And that is it for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor. Councillor Walker is up next, then Deneen, and then Leishman. Go ahead, Bob.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a couple things. First of all, we had the budget meeting on November the 16th, and then we had a CAO search committee meeting with Robert Johnson on the 17th. Those of us involved with that. But what I'd like to talk about right now is two service clubs in Clearview that are trying to make Christmas better by helping the community. First of all, the Stayner Lions Club, instead of not able to have their card draw this year, have gone to a monthly cash draw starting with December the 17th. They will be, at that time, there will be a $5,000 prize on the 17th of December and a $100 consolation. And then every third Thursday for the balance of the year to November of 2021, there'll be $2,000 per month and a $100 consolation. Tickets can be got at the Home Hardware in Stayner. A phone number of 705-229-7627. And if you want to do e-transfer, that can be through Stayner Lions Fundraising, all lowercase, at gmail.com. And the idea of this is to continue with their community projects through this next year. Because we didn't have the card draw, we have gone this route to try and come up with some funds to continue with our programming. And tickets are $100 and only 500 of them are only will be 500. The second I want to talk about is the Stayner Kinsman Club Santa Tour for Stayner. It's a little different than normal this year. December the 4th, the Stayner Kinsman Club will be going from 5 to 8 p.m. Southeast corner of Stayner, which is County Road 42 and south of Highway 26 to Phillip Street. And all funds, food bank, gifts, and or cash. December the 5th, 5 to 8, northeast quadrant of Stayner, north of Highway 26 to Lock Avenue, east of 26 to Mowat. December the 11th, 5 to 8 p.m., north of County Road 91 to Stayner Arena and west of Highway 26. And December 12th, 5 to 8 p.m., southwest quadrant, south of County Road 91 to Margaret, west of County Road 42. Please support both of these clubs. They are both out there trying to make Christmas this year, especially a little better for everybody, and try to continue with their servicing of the communities, both service clubs. So please get out and support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Bob. Actually, can I ask you a question about the Lions Club? I know that you, traditionally, the Lions Club are very involved at the Stainer Arena canteen. Obviously, the canteen is not operating. Is there any plans for it to, have you worked with Terry as far as, is there any plans for it to reopen or activate later on in the spring, or is it pretty well shut down for the year at the arena?
In discussion with Terry at this point, it is closed at this point, and I'm doubtful the way things are rolling out. Now we're into orange as a color. I have a feeling that we will not get it open at all this year, which is very unfortunate, but the numbers allowed internally in the arena don't warrant the in and outs, etc., don't warrant the numbers for us to move forward.
Correct. And the other side of that, the reason I bring it up, I did have a question asked of me in regards to that, and I said, I don't see how they can open it up when there shouldn't be anybody else in the arena other than the staff and the people that are on the ice. There shouldn't be anybody else in the arena at this point. So, yeah, I sort of attempted to answer that question on behalf of your Lions Club, and hopefully I was correct. So. Yeah,
that is correct. The numbers internally, if you add up what you're allowed, you've got people on ice, people in the booth, staff. It doesn't add up. And when they're being dressed in the front lobby, we can't keep that distancing anyways. So, and they're in and they're out. They come in a few minutes before they're on ice, they're gone a few minutes after they come off ice. So, yeah, there is no sense to try and stock or try and operate a system when numbers aren't there to facilitate that kind of money.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right. Thank you to the Lions and the Kinsman Club. And I look forward to helping you both in. So perhaps I'll see Santa sometime along there. Thanks for that.
Thank you.
Councillor Deneen is next, then Councillor Leishman, and then I'll go to McKechnie. Go ahead, Phyllis.
Thank you, Your Worship. Other than the budget and talking to Robert Johnson, I haven't really been out of the house that much in the last week or so with the head cold. So I haven't heard anything that's been going on in the last week. It's been pretty quiet, and quiet's good too. So I'll just leave it for everyone else at this time. Thanks, everyone.
All right, thank you very much, Phyllis. Take care of that cold, and you and Kevin just keep it. We're not visiting, so.
That's the one thing about it being virtual. I wouldn't even have been able to attend tonight otherwise.
There you go.
Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Leishman, you're looking great tonight, as always. Go ahead.
As always, I don't know.
As always.
So, thank
Folks,
you for that.
am I wrong? Come on.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you, Your Worship. I was at a library meeting with John, of course, and something that's happening, we have applied to have provincial park day permits at the library for people to pick up. So we haven't got them yet. I'll let you know when it happens, but we've applied for it. The other thing we have is a fundraising thermometer has come back to the library, and we took a picture of it and put it up. We put it in storage again, but we'll put it back up when we have more what do you call it, barometer things going up, or the thermometer is going up a little higher. Just so you know, we're still fundraising for the library, and we will be forever until we finish this commitment. The other thing is that I attended a small talk the other day by Terry O'Reilly, which was put on by the South Georgian Bay Tourist Association. It was really good. He sort of started talking to businesses and told them to think like their customers and to be counterintuitive. So for an example, there's a hotel in Europe that's a really bad hotel, and everybody complained about it. So now he advertised as the worst hotel in Europe. And actually he's always full, and only because of people's curiosity. So there you go. Try and do something like that. It's easy, I guess, if you've got a bad hotel. But it was a good talk, and I really enjoyed it. He's always a very entertaining. And of course, I had my interview with our CAO recruiter, Robert Thompson. Anyway, it was great. I really enjoyed talking to him. And of course, we all have, well, politicians, I'm a politician, I have verbal diarrhea. So it was a great discussion. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Appreciate that very much. Councillor McKechnie is next, and then Lamers was there, but he's disappeared. I was going to go to him next. So anyway, and then Councillor Patterson. So Mr. McKechnie first.
Thank you, Your Worship. And I too am having internet problems. So if I disappear, no one take it personally. And I know Barry there, he said he was going to tell his wife to get off the internet. How's that working out for you, Barry?
I think it means I have to cook dinner for the next week.
Anyway,
she advised me she was Christmas shopping on the internet for the grandkids. So.
All right. So basically, this past couple of weeks, I attended a Duntrin Hall meeting, Creemore BIA. There was one citizens meeting. I addressed some of their concerns. Of course, the budget meeting and the CAO recruitment interview. So relatively busy. But I would like to congratulate county on a 0% tax increase. I think that's going to be great. And I look forward to this council trying to keep our tax increase as low as possible as well. So congratulations, Barry and Doug, on a county increase of 0%. And that's all I have to report.
Well, let's hope it gets ratified tomorrow, but it looks like that's what's going to happen.
Well, again, you just never know, because not so dissimilar to our council meetings at budget. When it comes right down to the end, that's when councillors can bring forward ideas, which of course often means increases. So, Councillor Lamers is back. I'm sorry, go ahead, Doug.
No, I said I'm holding you to it, boys. You said 0% increase, so I'm going to hold you to it there.
Okay, sure. That's where I'm going. All right, Councillor Lamers is next, then Councillor Patterson, and then the Deputy Mayor one more time. Councillor Lamers, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. November 11th, we had a Brentwood Hall Board meeting, discussed a food bank drive-by cookie sale. We're going to be selling cookies online, and then you drive by and pick up your cookies and hopefully drop something off for the food stainer or the Clearview Food Bank. And then November 16th, the Budget Council meeting. November 19th, the Evening Hall Board meeting. We're cancel everything until the new year. And we'd like to thank Terry. We should be getting our new, I think it's reindeer in evening. We're getting Snowflake and Brentwood for the lights. And that's it.
Excellent. Thank you, Councillor. This is a great opportunity, actually, to call upon Terry, if he's available, to ask Terry if there's any more updates you could provide about some of the Christmas decorations. I know they appeared down in the new Lowell Pavilion, which was lovely to see. And I know we have them in our Stainer Park. Maybe you could just update us on how that project's coming.
Sure, thank you, Your Worship. I mean, I can't take all the credit. Thank you, Councillor Lamers, for thanking me, but it's really a team approach. Amanda Murray and Mara and the Public Works staff were all involved in setting up the Christmas lights. It's part of a project that Mara Burton had put together, I think even before my time. So again, I appreciate the thankfulness. I think the community will enjoy the new lights, Your Worship. It's we made sure that all the facilities had adequate hydro to be able to facilitate these lights. So I think we're pretty much done. There's still a little bit of work to do in some of the other communities. Mary and I and Amanda were working on that as well. Hopefully it'll be well received, and hopefully it'll show the consistent pride that we have throughout the township.
All right, thank you. I look forward to that, and I'm really happy that that project is developing as we speak. They do look lovely, and they help rise our spirits around our community. So thank you for that. Excellent. Thank you, Terry. We'll get back to you later in the meeting, I hope. Councillor Patterson is next, and then Deputy Mayor. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, so I did have an excellent conversation on the weekend with Robert Johnson regarding the CAO. I look forward to that process as it winds out. I've been fielding a lot of calls regarding the cream, well, not a lot of calls, but typically the 3 or 4 calls when the public gets engaged with regards to the Creemore Arena closure. My position has been that it is unfortunate. I understand Terry's rationale for doing what he's doing with the staff, and as we all know, these are the times to hunker down COVID-19. So just gauging the public sentiment on that, but getting some calls. Had some good conversations with the Wasaga Beach detachment with regards to contract policing. I also had a good conversation with the clerk's office, bylaw, with regards to additional work I think council needs to do with regards to contract policing. This has been before us for a while. And this is all in preparation for a notice of motion that I'm preparing and to bring to council at our next council meeting to move this thing along. I know this, it'll come up in our budget meetings, but I'm not satisfied with the progress we're making on this. And this is an important subject. And there's a lot of confusion on the part of the partners, the OPP, Clearview staff, ourselves, in what it is, what level of service we're trying to achieve, what level of service the OPP can provide, and how much we can afford. So I think there's more work to do than just throw out a number in the budget. I think we need to have a working session with them, and that'll be the nature of my notice of motion, should council wish to entertain it. And I also have a notice of motion coming forward on the same meeting with regards to the composition of our council and committees of the whole. I've said this over and over several times. While COVID is a valid concern, I don't see it as an excuse to get forward on it. And that's what's kept me busy in the last couple of weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. There's no doubt you've been very busy. Councillor, appreciate your comments. Mr. Deputy Mayor, you got anything further on this section, and then I'll wrap it up.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. A couple of things I'd like to mention is last week, Wednesday and Thursday, had two full-day meetings with NEC, Niagara Escarpment Commission. Mainly, the Wednesday was put aside for policy procedures and policy reviews, and that was that. And then also on that same night, this Committee of Adjustments met, and we had our meeting there. And then on Friday, we had a Station on the Green meeting, and a resolution was passed that if we do shift to orange, that we would not be allowing any activities to be happening at the Station on the Green facility. That has happened, so we are implementing that right now. That's unfortunately, we've had to advise the Christmas market people that it will no longer be available because of the increased risks and the way we've been put up. And same with Clearview United Church. They were using it and we're following procedures, but because of the increase, we have decided as a committee that we have to take into concern our community and the safety of our community, and we just felt that it was the right thing to do, especially with the rising numbers. And actually, I had a conversation today with some of the docs who are looking after the emergency COVID medical center, which the worship and I attended, which is in the back in one part of the Collingwood Legion. They're very well set up, but they're gearing because they're expecting that's probably going to go into operation because of the way the numbers are climbing and they're coming fast. So that's it.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you for mentioning the the emergency setup that is at the back of the Legion in Collingwood. Was put in place early in the pandemic, and they fine-tuned it a little bit. They've now set it up with all of the beds and all of the facilities there for patients to be able to use that facility. They've added a generator to the building, so they actually have standby power if necessary. So it's a significant investment, and let's just hope that our communities that are serviced by the Collingwood General Marine Hospital continue to behave when it comes to the levels of infection and levels of contracting this crazy virus that, it does seem to keep creeping up in our communities, but our percentage is still lower than some areas across Ontario. It would be my hope that we keep it that way. And it's difficult for sure because we have our neighbors to the south that are in the red zone, and we hope that they adhere to the recommendations of staying at home and don't go out. And that means they should really just stay in their own red zone. That would be best for all of us, be best for them, best for their community, and that's what I would hope that they would do. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. We do have a couple other things I want to mention. I participated with the members of the volunteers at the Clearview Stainer Food Bank. I was over there to greet them and bring them their donation. Thank you, Councillor Deneen, for bringing that forward. And we dropped off a check for $10,000 on behalf of Clearview Township. And to be noted, of course, the taxpayers of Clearview, because every dollar we have here from the township comes from taxpayers. That's where it comes from. So no mistake. That was certainly a wonderful donation that we were able to give at this time of year, and we want to support that organization as they continue to serve our community. I also attended the Joint Physician Recruitment and Retention Committee, which is part of the Town of Blue Mountains. I'm your member on that committee, where I serve and represent the Township of Clearview on that, and I bring forward your suggestions and ideas at that board. It is it's operated by the Town of Blue Mountains Council, of course, and so we have to follow their procedural bylaws. And one of them is that they will be looking for us to advertise a member from the public. So a person at large is going to be invited to that committee. So I just want to put it out there. I think I've mentioned this perhaps some meetings ago. If you have someone that's in your mind that you think is a suitable citizen who would like to support their community by being a representative of Clearview as a citizen at large, support the Physician Recruitment and Retention Committee, please bring it to our attention through the clerk's office, because that's where we will have to then nominate them, and then the Town of Blue Mountains would then adopt that recommendation. So let's just keep that in mind, folks. I know Councillor McKechnie, the BIA has a shopping event coming up. I've just forgotten the details of it. I tried to make a little note on it, but I've just forgotten. Councillor McKechnie, can you update us? I think they've got a shopping event that's coming up. We would hope people will keep their physical distancing as well, though, right, Councillor McKechnie?
Yeah, they do have a shopping event coming up, and I'll be honest with you, I don't know the details on it. So
okay.
I'm not sure about it, so I can't speak to it.
All right. Well, I would just hope that the BIA members and the merchants do their absolute best to keep the numbers down in the stores. And I know they're working very, really hard. It's been said before, during this pandemic, you have to work twice as hard to make half as much money, and that's what's going on in all businesses for sure. So it'd be my hope that they do have a successful Christmas season coming up. Yes, Councillor Leishman.
Sorry, if I could just jump in,
Sure.
Your Worship. I just wanted to mention that I do know it's been well publicized in the Creemore Echo and on the Creemore BIA Facebook page. And I have to apologize because my after reading the Creemore Echo, it's now in the recycling bin. So I would have to go and find it and pull it out to get the information for you. So
No problem.
maybe Councillor Leishman gives some information.
Councillor Leishman.
Yes, I would love to, but my paper is in the other room as well. And I know I had the poster here somewhere and I've lost it. But I do want to tell you about the White Wednesday. This Wednesday is called White Wednesday, and it's a Clearview Chamber initiative. If you go on the Clearview site, Clearview Chamber site, Clearview Chamber of Commerce site. Okay, there you go. You'll find out all the details, but a lot of stores that are registered have sales. It's probably a good day. It's sort of in opposition to the Black Fridays, which I find very nasty. Anyway, there you go. Sorry.
Okay. All right, folks. Thank you very much. Councillor Deneen, go ahead.
You were asking about the Creemore Echo. It was the holiday shopping kickoff. Is that what it was?
I think that's what it is.
Holiday shopping kickoff. Get going on your Christmas shopping. Watch for special features and enter to win prizes. Friday, December 4th, light up the night. Turn your own lights on at 6:30. Saturday, December 5th is the Santa Claus Parade. Visit stationary floats throughout Clearview between 1 and 3 p.m. See Santa from afar at the historic log cabin. There's phone numbers and yeah, it says that you could win one of 3 $75 gift certificates to spend in the BIA. And there's gift baskets with items donated, and make a purchase of $25 or more, fill out a ballot at participating realtors between now and December 18th, and you could win.
Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Deneen. That's great. All right. So the 4th it is. Thanks, folks. All right. That's all I have for that for board reports. Then, Council, we're going to move to item number 11.2. which is an item that Deputy Mayor Burton has presented us with a report. So Deputy Mayor Burton, how about I'll read the recommendation, I'll get a mover and seconder, and then we'll let you speak to your report. Does that sound good? Thank you. Okay, recommendation be it resolved that Council of the Township Clearview hereby 1 receives the Huron Tractor DC fees reduction report for information, and item number 2 approves the reduction of the Huron Tractor DC fees outlined in this report. Mover and seconder, I presume that'll be Deputy Burton, and seconder, Councillor Leishman. Thank you for that. Mr. Burton, why don't you review your report for members of council?
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. And I think the report is pretty much self-explanatory. Huron Tractor has been a great asset to the community. They're a great corporate citizen to us. They've invested millions of dollars into their original facility. Now they're looking to do some expansion and looking for a discount. I just want to be clear that while I show all those numbers, the only thing that we are actually voting on is to give them that is that the 10% discount for the jobs they've created, and also then the 40% discount on the development charges for Clearview. So that discount actually, their additional charges would be $16,371, and we're offering a discount of $6,548.67. So that's the additional discount we're offering above and beyond the 10% that they're entitled to for the jobs they've created. And I have followed through with county, and county has also confirmed that their general procedure is to follow through with the same discounts that we offer, and that's pretty much normal. But that's a county decision that has to happen. So we are not responsible for what discounts county offers or doesn't offer. And I also mentioned there that the school board development charges are not eligible for discounts. Not that we have any control over it. I want to be clear that I'm only suggesting we're offering the discount on the cold storage area of the facility. The area that's going to be used for actual business in doing repairs, that discount is the only discount applying there is the 10%. And this 40%, additional 40% discount is strictly for the cold storage area where they feel they have to do this because the agriculture community is saying that, look, we're investing millions of dollars into these pieces of equipment, and when they come in to be serviced, we want them kept under cover and protected and not left out in the snow and the rain and everything else that's going on. So I'm open to questions.
Okay, I think there will be some questions. Councillor Patterson is first. Anybody else would like to get in line on this one? Councillor Walker. Okay. Councillor Patterson, go ahead.
Thank you. So first of all, I'm in favor of providing some discount. Just want to check the numbers. The reason I am is not just because I'm a numbers guy, but because I think we should be consistent when we do this with consistent rationale when we do this with all our customers and developers. Deputy Mayor, when we first talked about this, I told you that I would support this motion as you brought it. And I mentioned that would it be the same as what we did with home? So it isn't. That's not a problem for me, but it did raise some questions. So first of all, how many employees does Huron Tractor have today?
Deputy Mayor, would you be able to answer that?
So if you look at my report, it'll say, I believe, okay, so they're now boasting 28 employees is what they have today. And they're looking at, I'm sorry, I got to read this because I can't remember it off by heart, that the news is with 14 employees. So they went from 14 employees to 28 employees at the time of the original build. And they're looking at adding an additional, I have to look at this and read it. I believe it's an additional 4 employees they're adding.
Additional 6.
6. Yeah, I think that's in the report somewhere. It's 6.
It's an additional.
I'm sorry, 6.
employees.
Yes, I'm sorry. It is 6. I just got to, sorry, I can't remember it all. There's been doing a lot of reading with NEC, and so I'm trying to remember, and I wrote this about 2 weeks ago.
Councillor Patterson, your microphone's muted. I can see you're trying. Go ahead, Tom.
Okay, sorry. So yes, your report is clear on the 28 and the 6, and I just wanted to confirm it before I made my comments. My notes show that when the building was first opened in 2017, they had 22 employees. The only source I could go back to confirm it was the Creemore Echo, but they reported the same number. And they started with 13 when they were at the other location in 2009, just for a reference.
So if I may, Your Worship, yeah, so they had 14 employees prior to building the new facility. So when they built the new facility, that's when they added all those extra employees. So this is information I received from Huron Tractor, so I've gone by the numbers they've given me. And so they've had those, they hired additional employees, and now they're creating more additional employees. But you're correct, there was 14 prior to the opening of the new facility.
Well, there was 22 on the opening of 2017. And that, if we can agree on that. And so I think
all I can say is whether it was 22, but I know that, so if you want to say it was 22, I'd have to confirm that with Huron Tractor. So that was still an increase of 8 new employees from the original to the.
So if we want to be, technical correct, hopefully it's not being seen as picky, but just if we have the right numbers, then I would suggest we sort of reflect that. The other thing is, could you tell me, and I understand your comment about the cold storage, how did you come to a number at 40%?
Looking at the application, looking at the number of commitments they've made to the community, and quite frankly, picked a number that I thought was acceptable to council. I didn't want to push for more because I didn't think it was reasonable. I thought a 40% decrease was a reasonable amount to do, and realizing that other communities or other townships, municipalities are offering bigger discounts than that, I thought it was an appropriate number to work with.
I'm not going to dispute the number, but I will go with what the consensus on council is. I do wish that they were trackable, and I wonder if in the future that we can't set a policy which gives us a little bit more discretion and defendable discretion, as was suggested in the background study. So I'll wait for comments on the rest of the council. I am mindful of the fact that that while we do want to be appreciative of development, it's not in the same situation as trying to attract the business. We are giving a pretty good incentive regardless, whether it's what you suggest or something lower. But I just find it arbitrary, and I would like to be able to track these numbers a little bit more consistently. So we're setting some defendable precedents. Those are my comments.
All right, thank you, Councillor Patterson. Councillor Walker is next. I do wish to acknowledge that Mara is here, I believe, and Steve Sage is here. If you guys could just join us right now. I want to come to you guys in a moment with a couple of questions, so I want to make sure that you're available. Councillor Walker, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. To the Deputy Mayor, that was one of the Councillor Patterson had already asked a couple, but so we're basically talking about the development charges for Clearview only. The county has to make a decision on whether they will reduce, or do they automatically follow suit when the municipality gives a discount? That's question one.
General Manager for Allnutt, she indicated, as has been in the past, which I was aware of, that they generally follow suit, but it's still county's decision whether they want to offer that discount or not. It's
so
but yes, we're only talking the Clearview portion. We're not in any way responsible for the.
Okay. It would have been a little easier if we'd have had this split up, Clearview discount and then the county separate, so that we could follow it and itemize it a little better.
I did. I made it very clear in the thing where I went in, where I showed the discount. It says I went in to describe the Clearview DC charges for the cold storage area. We worked out to $16,371, and the 40% of that was $6,548. So I did break it down. What was Clearview's portion? What was the county's portion?
Yeah, I realize that, but I'm saying he kept Clearview separate, and then the county on the bottom. You've got county and Clearview mixed in with it. Anyways, I guess my concern is cold storage. How do we have a guarantee that in a year's time it's going to remain cold storage? We give them a discount on cold storage, and all of a sudden business develops and they decide that they're going to further develop the cold storage. So we have lost that development charge then, and they've created, not saying they will, but they have created more. So I am concerned with the idea of granting discounts for an open area that has potential down the road to be developed.
If I may, Your Worship, I think we have to take Huron Tractor at their word. They have been good corporate citizens. They've been upfront and honest with us. We've never had any difficulties with them. I think to not grant them a discount beyond something that they might do in the future is just not relevant, to be honest with you. With due respect, Councillor Walker, I think we have to take them at their word. There's no reason not to take them at the word that it is for cold storage.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Councillor Walker. You completed at this point?
Yeah, my only comment is what precedent setting are we getting ourselves into when we start doing individual discounts and stuff? To me, it's leaving our door wide open.
Okay, so
If I may, Your Worship, respond. I didn't take this report lightly, Councillor Walker, and I appreciate your concerns because I have the same concerns. But it's not the first time we've offered discounts. I'm not offering waivering of the DC fees. We're just offering a discount to them. And I think in today's world, in the reality when other municipalities are doing the same and offering the same, I think that we got to sort of belly up to the bar at times to do that. I think it's an appropriate, especially, it's in my book, it's economic development. We're talking $6,548 of economic development in my eyes is the reality of it.
All right, so Deputy Mayor, Councillor Walker, and members of council, I'm going to just bring it to a halt here for a minute because I got some very clear questions I need from our staff. And I think what we need to do here is step back and take a look at the process. Councillor Patterson, of recent, you and I don't always agree on a whole lot of things. I want to be clear, but I do agree that I think that there is something about this report that we need to have a better look at because there is some arbitrary information that's in there that hasn't really been vetted out. And so thank you for bringing that forward. Now,
You don't have to apologize for not agreeing with me.
not a problem. That's one of the best parts about being on council, is you can respect each other as we go along, and that's good. So thank you. I would like to get it clear from our staff. First of all, the head of the planning department, Mayor Burton. Mara, have we engaged with Huron Tractor on an application for any projects at this time? Are we entertaining them? Have we had an application? Because I find this unusual that council is now giving a discount when we haven't seen an application. Can you help me out here?
Sure.
We have an application.
We do not have a building permit application. They have site plan approval for the building, which they gained, I think perhaps in 2016. And I think they contacted the planning department probably about 6 weeks ago about this, but we do not have an application before us right now.
Okay, so because we do not have an application, we don't know exactly how big a facility they're going to build or not build, or any other sort of terms that they would like to provide to us. Mara, is that right?
That's correct.
Okay, so a good consultation by our professional staff has happened, and they've been given some information. And from that, Deputy Mayor, it appears that they've spoken to you about this. And so we now have an application or a report in front of us to offer a discount for something that hasn't even been asked for. Like they haven't even asked for an application yet. They haven't even filled out an actual ask. And now we're getting a discount before we even get the ask. So I think that's just a little ahead of the game, Deputy Mayor. So if I may, I'd like to go to the CAO and ask the CAO, have we had a procedure, as I heard Councillor Patterson a moment ago ask, is there a policy about this, about how we manage these type of requests, CAO?
So I have a few comments, Your Worship. So the only policy we have is what makes up part of our DC bylaw. And I would argue that the deputy mayor's requests based on square footage, staffing increases follows that policy. But where I have some real challenges with the report is some of the comments that have been made by many. So number one, we do not have an application. So I think it would be highly risky for council to make a determination on percentage gifts, if you want to use that term, rebates, whatever you want, concessions, that we don't know the square foot dimensions of the facility. So basing your calculations on square footage is kind of risky when we have no idea what the square foot, the deputy mayor may know what it is, but the township does not. But that's a council decision. Policy-wise, no. I also agree with the deputy mayor that the funding for this, if council so chooses, should not come from the tax stabilization reserve, which he suggested. I just heard him say it's an economic development issue. I agree with him. I think this, if council decides to move forward, that this should be funded from economic development. Just a couple other comments. The cold storage issue. Councillor Walker was pretty clear that he's a little concerned about the transition from cold storage to some other use. we are aware of providing concessions in the past at Clearview where that is exactly what happened. So I would caution council on that. Normally what would happen is to be an application come forward and the proponent would come to council and ask for the decision to give concessions, if you use that term, where council would have an opportunity to talk about Huron Tractor or any other applicants' commitments and all the great things that they've done in the community. So you'd have that opportunity to engage them and have that conversation. So I find that part a little bit awkward. And I guess one more comment I'd like to make is, council, you have a DC bylaw and you created it for a reason. And all the staff sitting back listening to this conversation and yourselves put a lot of effort into the background study. I heard Councillor Patterson mention it. So just to brief everybody on what it does. It provides funding in Clearview for roads, bridges, libraries, admin center, fire halls, recreation, fire trucks, and infrastructure. At the county, it provides funding for roads, paramedics, long-term care, admin, garbage, etc. So this money is important. And council, whenever you go to redo your DC bylaw next time, perhaps you should take a look at the percentage split between commercial, industrial, and residential, because we don't seem to provide these concessions across the board equally. So just my thoughts. But at this point in time, those are my comments, Your Worship.
Great. I know the Deputy Mayor wants to speak, but I want to go back to Mayor on one more point, and that is you've reported to us that you've had a consultation with the operators of Huron Tractor, correct? And so, yeah, in that consultation, is there an opportunity to discuss with them some of the programs that we have in regards to reducing DC charges? Do you discuss those opportunities? Is that part of the check boxes to make sure that to get to the point where an application can be complete?
Yes, Your Worship. Typically, we do try to, for lack of a better word, warn the applicants that there are DC charges, and we often will advise them of the pamphlet where they can find some exemptions.
Okay, so that information's out there. Deputy Mayor, go ahead. I'm sure you've got some questions. Go ahead.
So to be clear, everybody seems to be talking about we don't know what the square footage is, which is, sorry, but incorrect. I mean, I've been in constant consultation with our Director of Planning, and we based it on the site plan, and this building and this size is on their site plan, which hasn't been built. So it's based on their existing site plan, and with conversations with Huron Tractor, that is exactly what they plan to do, which is follow through on the already approved site plan, and that's where the square footage comes from. I didn't pick it out of the sky, or they didn't pick it out of the sky. It came from that site plan.
Okay, that's good information to know. I think that it's, you're representing it by putting forward this report and therefore this motion, but the proponents have not represented it to the township. Like, it's on their site plan, but they haven't actually applied. So I'm not sure where the township sits in knowing what type of discount we would be offering if we don't have a application for what we're being asked for. Yes, Deputy Mayor.
Well, I think the reality is it's back to what comes first. Yeah, the application or the discount. I mean, at the end of the day, sure, they're requesting what type of discount we can offer them, because it's going to make them make the decision whether they will proceed or not. So to spend the money to put in an application to then find out afterwards they're not going to get a discount, they probably wouldn't bother. And this is the whole reason why this discussion came up, because it's a matter of, is it economical enough for them to do this? And that's why that the conversations, and I was approached by Huron Tractor, because the reason why I was approached, because I worked closely with Huron Tractor in county at the last time when they were building, and that's so certainly developed a relationship with them. So I think the reality is, they sort of want to know what those discounts we would be willing to agree to. I don't mind making a minor amendment to the motion saying, this discount, provided they, apply, fill out an application within the next 90 days or something like that, I don't mind putting that in there. But I think, it's the reality that they want to know before they're going to decide, before they even decide if they're going to fill out an application and proceed.
There's no doubt in my mind that they're, through you, Deputy Mayor, and that they are basically judging the appetite of this council, whether they're even interested in providing that type of thing. So good for you to bring it forward, and that way it'll help flush it out. I see Councillor McKechnie, and then I saw Councillor Patterson. I'm looking for anybody else. Go ahead, Mr. McKechnie, you're next.
Just thank you, Your Worship. Just wondering what all is involved. Maybe staff could give us some information. What all is involved in them putting an application in? Is it quite a lengthy process? And depending on what staff say, I was just wondering if Deputy Mayor Burton might entertain a motion to defer this until after the application does get put in. Anyway, so first of all, I'd like to hear from staff, if you don't mind.
Here, perhaps Mara and Mara, why don't you, Cole's notes, what's involved in doing an application to build a extended development on their own site?
Thank you, Your Worship. Well, given they already have site plan control, we don't have to concern ourselves about that. Basically, it's just 2 sets of building plans and, to the Ontario Building Code, the BCIN number. They pay upfront their application fee and they pay upfront their development charges. And then if council makes a decision, they only have to pay this much now, or if council makes a decision after that you refund. Either way, the building department and treasury, I'm sure, can handle that, speaking on behalf of Kelly too. So.
Right. And so since you mentioned treasury, if I can ask Kelly, who is our treasurer, if she could just join us for a moment. Don't go away, Mara. Kelly, can you join us? I'm interested. Hello, Kelly. I'm just interested to know if there's any programs that you would be able to operate through the treasury that then would sort of, that would create this payment structure when you receive an application. If we're unsure if the discount, or do we collect the DCs after it's built, or in this case, if we're offering a discount, will we collect it all and then refund? What's your advice on that?
To Your Worship, it's generally collected at building permit stage. Again, it's up to council to decide whether or not it's a discounted fee, or if they get to building permit stage, we collect their development charge and you decide after the fact that you'd like to offer them a discount. That's more than doable.
Okay, so you agree then it could be done either way. They could pay it all up front, and then council then can issue a discount or a refund, or you could accept the refund discount and accept the payment, which would then be, for Mara's department, be considered a complete application. Is that how it works? Mara, does that concur?
Yes, that's correct. Thank you.
All right, so Councillor McKechnie, I hope that answers some of your question there. And you had another comment about a deferral there. What was that? Go ahead.
Well, I'm in support of this, but the only thing that I'm concerned about now is the policy going forward. I would have liked to have seen some sort of representation or presentation or report or whatever from Huron Tractor, and I guess that would have been done in the application. I would have liked to have seen that first, and I'm just wondering if the Deputy Mayor would be willing to accept a deferral of this motion until we do get that application, or some sort of presentation or representation from Huron Tractor anyway. But just wondering if he's open to that.
Sure, good question. Councillor Patterson, I've not forgotten you. I'm going to go back to the Deputy Mayor, though, to answer. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Yes, so in response to the deferral, I'm going to say no. The reason why, it's the end of the year, and Huron Tractor is trying to make their decisions in their budgets going into 2021. So they have a meeting at the end of this month. I was aware of this situation. I probably should have presented the report sooner, but life got busy, time got busy, and county got busy, and NEC got busy, and so I've sort of been like it in. Huron Tractor asked if they should appear at today's meeting, and I personally said I didn't think it was necessary. It was up to them, and they did ask, so I think they would have been more than happy to appear. back to the issue is, I think, for them to fill out an application, they're going to be laying out tens of thousands of dollars just for the building permit, let alone the development fees and everything on top. And I think in today's economy, with the COVID and everything else, today's economy, businesses are being wise before they start making commitments. So I think it's prudent for us to make the decision, whether we should support this or not. I don't think deferral is an issue. I don't think, it's within policy to offer the discount. It's not the first time we've done it. We did it for Homes Agra, I think we have to look at that. And again, I think it's economic development, and it's, obviously the discount doesn't apply if they don't apply for a permit. So, I don't mind putting a time limit on it. If we want to put a time limit on it of 3 months or 90 days or 120 days, that if we offer this discount, that's fine. That'll encourage them to hurry up and get their application in once they decide that they want to go ahead.
Great. Thank you for that. That is helpful, actually. Tom Patterson, would you like to jump in there? You've got a card up, and then I see McKechnie's got his card up again. Okay, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, my concern is with the characterization that the deputy mayor is making of Hearing Tractor. I believe them to be a good company and a good community company. I don't think the public should hear us making a decision because that we feel we're being squeezed by a company as good as the Hearing Tractor. So I would ask him to take back that comment. It's not necessary. You can hear a consensus that the council wants to do something for them. And I honestly can't believe that the discount that we have is necessary leverage that Hearing Tractor is looking for to make another investment in this community. So I'd ask him to take back his comment.
I'm not sure what comment you're asking me to take back.
That
but I never suggested at any time that they were squeezing us.
That they're making this decision on the base, whether they're going to proceed on the basis of getting a discount.
They're going to make their decision based on the cost it's going to cost them. That's what it's, so maybe I shouldn't express the word discount. If you want me to take back the word discount, fine. But it's based on what it's going to cost them to move forward is what's going to affect them to make the decision. That's common sense to me.
Okay, Councilor McKechnie's next.
Thank you. Yeah, just want to get the number straight again. So I'm looking at $11,482.54. Is that right? That'll come out of the Clearview. That'll be the Clearview portion. $11,482. So what I'm doing is I'm adding up at $4,933.97, and then I'm adding up the cold storage discount of $65.48.67, and that's it. Right? That's what we're looking at, 11,000.
If I can respond, Your Worship. So you are correct, but the reality is the 4,933.9.7 they're entitled to because of the jobs they created. So they're entitled to that. So it's not something we're just automatic. They're entitled to that discount. The actual additional discount we're offering is $6,500.
Okay. All right. So if I can mention then that, certainly I can't see them stopping this project for $6,500. But on the other hand, I'm happy to give them that $6,500 to reduce their development charge by that much. That's not an obscene amount of money. And I'm happy to do it because they are a good corporate citizen, and let's let them go ahead. I think that going forward, though, we need a better policy in place, because otherwise I think everybody's going to be coming forward now saying, well, you give me the discount or else I'm not going to, I'm not going to expand, or I'm not going to put a business in your community unless I get a discount. So I think we do need a policy going forward, but I am happy to support this motion. Thank you.
Thank you. And on that point about policy, you heard the CAO comment about that too. To be clear, I'm confident that this council is very supportive of agriculture in our community. That's who we are. And we're very supportive of businesses making investments in our community, whether they're businesses that are already here in our community or whether they're businesses that are looking to come to our community and be attracted to our community. So that is completely in support of economic development. That is exactly what this is. It does support that. There are many ways to support economic development. There's many businesses and all types of businesses that need support and are looking for support from their community to help them with the EDC work. And we have a EDC committee that we're trying to get started and trying to get restarted again. And so I would hope that we aren't just creating an EDC committee to create discounts and DC fees. There's a lot more to EDC work than that. So I would hope that that's not where this council is going, but be supportive of all the work that economic development can bring to our community. Councillor Lamers, I saw your card. Is that correct? Did you want to jump in? Oops, he disappeared. He was there.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm in full support of this. Like they're dealing with millions of dollars worth of equipment there, and they'd like to keep a lot of it inside when they work on it. A lot of it is very technical. But in our policies coming up, we're going to have to figure out some distinction between cold buildings and heated buildings, so we don't run into this problem all the time of somebody coming in saying they're going to put up a cold building and a year or two down the road change it to a heating building. There's got to be something in the policies to sort of deter that. But I'm in full support of this. The agriculture community, they need to put those big machines inside and keep them dry.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no doubt. I think it's absolutely correct. It's just I'm not sure who said it earlier. It's just a little messy how this has been presented. As much as it's a good report and good research, it's just there's some prematurity to it. So having an application in front of us, I think, is a better position for this council to represent the decision that we would have to make. Listen, is there anybody else that's got a comment? Because I got a recommendation. Go ahead, Councillor Leishman.
Thank you. Perhaps we could put into it that the discount does not apply until they do put their application forward. Although I really think that we should give them what they're entitled to, which is the $4,933 for sure. But the other 40% off the cold storage shouldn't happen until the application is in front of us. And I don't know whether you want to add that, Deputy Mayor, or not, but I think that should be in the motion.
In all honesty, Councillor Leishman, I think it's just adding more confusion, because obviously it's not going to apply until they fill in their application. So it's like,
true.
I think it's sort of like what comes first, so it's the egg. So I think we're offering, the discounts there. If the discount's there, they fill out their application, the discount applies. If they don't fill out the application, it doesn't. So I think it's, in all due respect, I think it's, yeah.
Councillor Leishman, anything further?
I still think it would be a good idea that we had an application in front of us before we said, or before we actually gave them the discount, obviously. I don't know how else to put that, but.
Yeah. All right, thank you. That's kind of where I'm going too. That's getting to the recommendation that I like to bring forward, but I'm going to defer to my councillors. Councillor Broderick is next, and then Councillor Patterson. I saw you jump in again. So Mr. Broderick, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I wholeheartedly agree with Councillor Leishman's comments. The application should be in. It certainly would make things a lot easier. I do want to say, though, that on the idea of the cold storage, being in the service industry myself, I certainly understand where they're coming from, and the cold storage building in reality won't add anything to their bottom line. It's a nicety for their customers. And it may encourage more business. Other than that, it won't increase their bottom line. Anyways, that's all I wanted to say.
All right. Councillor Patterson's next, and then I see Councillor Deneen. All right, go ahead, Tom.
I think this is a good discussion. I just want to support what Councillor Leishman just said. Again, I don't want it to be misconstrued by the public. This is not a discipline that we're imposing on the applicant here in Tractor, or a rebuke of what they're doing. We appreciate what they're doing. This is a discipline we are hoping to apply to council, so we make the right decision with the right amount of information. And so I think there's a lot of common sense that should be adopted here. So we don't look like what I'm sure some watching will think, that we're gifting money without really a lot of good information. That's not the intent. That wasn't the intent of the deputy mayor, but this conversation can be taken either way. So I think we should be a little bit more practiced and aware of precedent, policy driven and fact driven. And let's just do it right.
Thank you, Councillor Patterson. Okay, so more cards are popping up again. Councillor Deneen is next, then Leishman, and then Broderick. I'm going to cut this off in about 5 minutes, just giving you guys heads up. Go ahead, Phyllis.
I'm just back to what Councillor Walker said about them changing it to warm storage after it being deemed cold storage. Who would police that? Like, there'd be, I know, once, would they have to have a building permit to make that a warm? Would we know that it was being changed over? There'd be, the tax base would go up if it was warm storage. And just how would we be able to police that, basically? And would the county still apply their discount if we held our discount off until after they'd actually paid and rebate? Would the county follow suit with that rebate? Or is that taking the county rebate away from them? Wondering. And I did ask Barry this today. It's almost like it's precedent setting. And I'm fully in favor of giving them a discount for bringing the business, and I think they are a good community business partner as well. But I just, those are my questions that have just come up from the conversations that are going on. I'm wondering if there's anybody that can answer that.
Thank you. Councillor Deneen, I do have Mara Burton, who has rejoined us, and as the head of the planning department, she's also head of the building inspection as well. So maybe she could comment on that. Ms. Burton.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I'll do my best. Essentially, the development charges are done on a square footage basis. So whether it's cold storage or not cold storage, from a development charge perspective, it doesn't make any difference in the bylaw. It makes a difference from a building code perspective, possibly, and I would really need to look into that. But if they did, if it was a matter of changing the insulation, they may require a permit to come back to do that. But I cannot say that for sure, for certain. And also I can't say for certain they necessarily would do that. So I think, you know, if you're going to make the decision, you might want to just make the decision based on the square footage, because we wouldn't necessarily be able to charge them fees again if they came back in, even if they needed a permit for insulation or something like that, or if they were doing an interior renovation of some sort later on. We wouldn't necessarily be able to charge them development charges because the building or the development charge bylaw wouldn't allow it. It's only when they add square footage to the property that we would be able to necessarily impose additional development charges.
Okay, so Steve Sage joined us. Did you want to jump in, Steve? I recognize the deputy mayor. Go ahead, Steve.
Well, Your Worship, I can assure you that over a long period of time, the only reason we would become aware of those changes is either hearsay, anecdotal evidence, or the big one that actually gets to the point of it MPAC. So at some point in time, there are assessments get done on those transformations from cold storage to another use. There are some that have taken place in Clearview this year. But our ability to affect any issues with respect to development charge is zero. But I can tell you it usually catches up with the proponent over time due to MPAC reassessments.
I concur. Thank you. Deputy Mayor, your card is up, and then I see Leishman and Broderick.
Thank you, your worship. Yeah, so I just want to confirm what Mrs. Burton just said. No relation. Mrs. Burton, it's all based on square footage. It's not based on whether it's cold storage or not cold storage. Development fees are based on square footage. So whether it was heated or not heated, but quite frankly, I feel it's inappropriate for us to be talking about or suggesting that they're going to build a cold storage thing and then they're going to convert it to a heated area later. I don't think it's relevant to what we're dealing with today. You know, it's if they do that, like the CAO said, you know, if that changes, then their tax base goes up. If it becomes a heated area or the value, it's all, you know, it's all based on value of the property. So if in fact that happened 5-10 years down the road, then in fact their tax base would go up because the value of the building went up. But for us to be into this discussion, I don't think it's appropriate for considering what we're dealing with.
We have very little information right now other than your report, which is detailed, but there are some parts of it that are not clear. So I appreciate that. Councillor Leishman's next, then Broderick, and then I'd like to wrap it up. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, you're right, John. It's not a lot of money, but at the same time, it's a lot of goodwill. And I'm okay to pass this for goodwill, as well as if it makes them feel better, I'm good about that too. The other thing is that why don't we pass this on condition that a permit comes forward or a request for a permit comes forward, if you don't want to defer it.
You're going right my direction. Councillor Broderick, go ahead. Your mic's off there, sir. Hello, 1, 2. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Actually, my question was answered by both Mara and the CAO, so I have no further questions.
Okay, thank you. Council, I'd like to jump in here. I got a couple things I'd like to suggest. If the deputy mayor is comfortable, I think we could ask for this to be subject to an application being received by the township no later than the 26th of February 2020. I think that would be, it's almost 60 days, which brings it to the end of the month, which you mentioned earlier. It's coming up the end of the year, so they need to make a decision. So that gives them the first 2 months to wrap up their decision. Deputy Mayor, does that sound like a reasonable ask?
I would make it 90 days, Your Worship, if we could agree on 90 days. 60 days is a short term, especially we're coming into the Christmas season. You know, the month of December, business-wise, is almost the last month. I would support going to a 90 days, which would make it March 26th.
Okay.
Fair enough.
It's fair enough. You're asking for it to be extended till March. That does help them, I guess. I'm just asking for it to be deferred to the point that we have an actual application and we put a date on it. Because if they don't act on it, then this hour of discussion has been for nothing anyway. So, you know,
as I said, I don't mind putting a date on it, but I'm suggesting the date is 90 days, March 26th, rather than February 6th. We're talking 30 days. Could we please agree on that?
Yeah, I'm comfortable if that's, you're the mover of the motion. You could put that in there yourself if you like.
So I'm willing to make that friendly amendment that it's that this, I'm trying to think of the terminology to use now, that the discount applies provided we receive an application within 90 days.
Okay. Madam Clerk, Deputy Clerk, is that comfortable with you? Have you got that recorded? I don't see the clerk. Oh, there she is. Hi, Brenda.
Yes, I have that.
Okay, thank you. All right, anybody else with any suggestions or comments? My final comment, if I would, I agree with Councillor Patterson's assessment earlier, where we want to make sure that we are doing this effectively and not piecemealing each of these requirements. And so I do think that we need to make a note of this, Council, that our Director of Planning, Mayor Burton, and our new CAO will need to work on a policy in regards to how Council prepares proper discounting or even receives discount applications. It's a little messy. We've done it a couple of times and it hasn't always been perfect, but it has been supportive of business in our community, which is the overall objective to what we're trying to do here. So I think that we need to keep that in mind. All right, members of council, where are we now? You guys comfortable? You want to move on? I'm prepared to call the motion. We have a mover and seconder. It's been amended with a friendly amendment. All those in favor? Those opposed? Thank you. That motion will carry. And I look forward to the operators at Huron Tractor contacting the township within 90 days. And we will see a report back from our planning department on that once I get that in. All right, thank you, council. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. All right, council, we're moving on to our department reports, which is item number 12 on our agenda, community services. We have a zoning bylaw amendment for the estates of Clearview. This is a result of a planning public meeting that was held some time ago. So how about I read it and I'll look for a mover and seconder. Hello, Mara, once again. Recommendation be it resolved, the council of the township of Clearview hereby 1, receive report CS 056-2020 for information. And item 2, approve and authorize the mayor and clerk to execute the amending zoning bylaw number 20-81 for lands municipally known as 205 Prescott Drive, 221, 223, 225 Mowat Street North, Clearview, and legally described as Plan 51M 1173. Is that backlot K? Is that backlot, Mara? BLK. I'm unfamiliar with what that means.
Block.
Oh, just block. Oh, okay.
Yes.
We could write the word block. It only takes 2 more letters. Block 73 and lots number 3, 4, 5, formerly Nottawasaga, now in the township of Clearview. Can I have a mover and seconder, and we'll add those 2 letters. Lamers and Walker. Thank you. Mara, would you like to speak to your motion? Oh, and Nick's there too. Nice to see you, Nick.
Thank you, Your Worship. Actually, I will have Mr. Ainley speak to his recommendation to council.
Sure. Thank you. Mr. Ainley. Hello, Nick.
Hello. Thanks for having me. There's nothing really too much to add. Hopefully my report is self-explanatory, but of course I'm here to answer any questions that council may have tonight.
Thank you very much. Members of council, any questions on this motion? We had a public meeting on that a while ago. Yes, Mr. Lamers, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Nick, isn't that the corner where they have their settlement pond for drainage?
Nick, stormwater management pond, I think it is. Yeah.
Yes, so this block was actually originally part of it. So in 2010, when they received draft plan approval originally, the lands were in the regulatory floodplain, pre-development floodplain. However, since 2010, through the approval of Nottawasaga Station Phase 1, through their engineering, their engineers have determined, and we've peer reviewed it as well, that those lands are not required for stormwater management anymore. So they're actually not part of the pond currently, and they're now outside the regulatory floodplain. So that's why the rezoning has come in to fix that error, to make sure that the lands that were previously zoned as stormwater are no longer required for it. So we'll rezone it to the similar residential zone to the adjacent lands.
All right. Any other questions? Thank you, Nick. Any other questions to Nick or Mara? All right. All right, council, you've got the motion. Thank you, staff. The motion's in front of you. You've had an opportunity. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? And that carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Thank you, staff. Now I'm going to go to the Public Works Department. We have an interesting program that's been brought to this township that actually has appeared in other townships, so it's kind of nice to have this here. Welcome, Dan. PW 027 2020. It's the Toys for Tickets campaign. Recommendation be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby one, authorize staff to initiate a Toys for Tickets campaign for parking tickets issued from November 23rd, 2020 until December 15, 2020, allowing motorists to pay their parking fine with a toy or gift card of equal or greater value. And item 2, delegate the authority to staff to continue with this campaign on an ongoing annual basis. Can I have a mover and seconder on this amazing motion? Broderick and Deneen. Thank you. Hi, Dan. This is a great program. I've seen it in other communities. Very happy to see you bringing it here. What's your comments on the program?
Thank you. Good evening, Your Worship. I have brought this to another municipality that I previously worked for, and it was quite successful. And following a recent meeting with public works staff or plow operators, especially, they voiced their concerns with increasing amount of on-street parking, and consultation with our clerk. We put this program together to introduce it to Clearview, in the hopes that not only can we have some proactive bylaw enforcement, parking enforcement for winter parking, but also give back to the community a little bit as well. So it's a little late in the season for a full-on season, but our parking bylaw begins on October 15th. So perhaps if this is successful, we will also introduce it starting next year at October 15th.
Okay. Good luck. I appreciate that very much. Any members of council have any questions to Dan or anything on the report? Yes, Mr. Walker. Councillor Walker, go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I think it's a good program, Dan. The other thing, I guess a couple of questions. Number one, have we ever towed before? We talked about ticketing and towing. So if you're going to ticket, are you going to end up towing as well, or are you just going to ticket and leave the vehicle there? And I guess that depends where it's located. That's the first one. The second one is that in parts of Older Stainer, we have cars that park on the boulevard parallel to the travel portion of the road. And a few of them received their red warnings that they could be ticketed and or towed. The employees that presented those tickets are correct. They are on township property, but when the water shut off for one house particularly is about 1.5 feet off the front steps to the front veranda, and the cars park in front of that right up to it, it's a little tough because there's no place for them to go. And there's other homes in Older Stainer where they park on boulevards as well. So my question is, are we talking primarily traveled portion of the roads that we have, or are we going to start enforcing boulevards? Because if we are, then we've got a lot of parking issues out there where people park in front of their garage, they're parking on the boulevard. So we got some other issues when we start going that route. So I just think we need some maybe clarification to staff or clarification between staff and bylaw as to there might be some site specific issues that need to be addressed.
Okay, so it sounds to me, Councillor Walker, before Dan gets an opportunity, sounds to me that it needs a little education program needed to be done out here about what this means. Winter parking is a real problem for snow removal. And so for years, we've been dealing with that. And perhaps we need to work with the CAO and communications to get a bit of an education out there about what this really means. Would you agree, Dan or Councillor Walker?
Well, I think I travel on somebody parking covering the travel portion of the road. Absolutely. We go to subdivisions, but when you go to other streets and park off on the boulevard and you're still 6 feet off the travel portion of the road and you receive a little warning saying you can be towed, and legally the person presenting that information is not wrong. That is the township boulevard, but to me, they're not impeding the plowing aspect. I mean, in that case, for a couple of these homes, they've parked in front of those homes for 60 years. So I think we've got some, and it might be new staff. I don't know who, but I think we need to certainly look at some of those avenues and make sure that we deal with them right.
I think the other aspect, I see we got some staff want to speak, but the other aspect here, of course, is that our plows push a pile of snow, and if there's a car parked adjacent to the side of the road, the snow can cause damage to the car. And so we don't want the snowplow driver to feel that liability. They need to have the space to actually get rid of the snow off the travel portion of the road. So it's kind of a catch-22. You can't park your car there, but that's where the snow has to go. So I read what you're saying. Mr. CAO is in here first. Dan, we're going to let Steve get a crack at this. Go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, Your Worship. And so it sounds like there's a couple site-specific issues here because staff didn't do anything wrong. That's absolutely the policy. But, and I'm not sure if staff are aware of these site-specific locations. And when you're Councillor Walker, when I say staff, I mean staff that can do something about it. So if there's some issues of people not having enough room to park in front of their residence, we need to maybe push it a little bit higher. But because I'm not aware of that situation in Stayner and I've been here 30 years. So if there's site-specific ones, push it a little bit higher. We'll try and make some allotments for it. But the general practice is you said that car's parked 6 feet off the traveled portion. Some winters, not a problem, but there will be winters that's going to cause a problem for snow removal. So just my thoughts. Thanks.
Let's go to Dan next. Dan, you going to be added on that?
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. And I think Councillor Walker and yourself, made great points. One is so the red notices that these motorists received on their vehicles was, to be a educational tool, just so that they're aware. And Steve made great sense that some winters it's not going to be an issue, some others it will. Snow being piled up on the boulevard, some years is not going to be an issue, some it is. However, I did speak with our bylaw enforcement officer about some of those issues that came up that he was being called on, and it really is up to him to issue the ticket. So if it is impeding snow operations, i.e. what Councillor Walker said, the vehicles parked on the travel portion of the road, that it's impeding snow removal, then certainly that is an avenue of ticketing towing. If it's not snowing, on a day like tonight, if one of our officers were out there, they would still ticket. They would not tow it because it's not impeding the snow removal operation. However, they are still an infraction of the bylaw. Again, we do have some newer patrol staff that were handing out these notices, so perhaps they don't know these site-specific issues. I'm aware of a couple that came up, but again, it's up to those bylaw officers to issue those tickets.
Councillor Walker, were you comfortable? Great. Okay. Now I lost track. Is someone else had a card up? I lost track in there. Tom, and then who else? Anybody else? Okay, go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, just a suggestion. I think Dan got pretty close. Put some tinsel back on the tree here. There's a procedure where people can come in and say appeal, if you like, or verbally appeal, to contact the township and say, look, here is the situation. And I'm sure that exists already, and wouldn't be surprised if the bylaw officers obviously know where some of these spots are. So I think maybe we should get back on the. I think it's a great proposal. I think we should be careful. If the gentleman that comes into the office has got a red suit and it's about his sleigh, I would say let him off the hook.
Thank you, Councillor. It'd be great to see him in our community again, too. Anybody else with any questions or comments? Let's get back to the meat of the matter on this one, if I may. I think it's an excellent program, Dan, that you brought forward, and I've seen it be successful in other communities. I'm happy that you brought it here. I think that it's clear that, you know, our bylaw enforcement team do work with the public works staff when it comes to these type of infractions, and they do night patrol as much as you know, you don't see them out there as far as our bylaw guys, but they do. The bylaw department do get out in the evenings, and particularly when we do have a heavy snowfall, they're very much paying attention to it. I had a brief meeting with our senior bylaw officer about this, and he assured me that you know, it's pretty easy to figure out where the frequent flyers are that are parking and impeding traffic when the patrol staff you know, let them know and have a list. So they do their patrolling. Dan, anything further would you want to add on that? Just of course I would ask that if someone is going to be receiving a ticket and then receiving an opportunity to pay that fine with a toy or a gift card, that they attend the Township Administration Center and adhere to the social distancing and COVID requirements of making sure that you use hand sanitizer and so on. And for the safety of the toys being distributed, all the toys are going to be collected here by the paramedics. Is it the 18th or something? I think it is, of December, and they're going to be held in quarantine for a couple of weeks before they actually get distributed as well. So some of that safety training is going on. Go ahead, Dan.
Yes, Your Worship, I just might add that in consultation or in cooperation with our communications officer, we have come up with a little you know, half page little flyer that would accompany the ticket, so that people that receive the ticket would be aware that there is that option to pay with a toy. So
absolutely, yeah, for sure. And therefore there's some more education. That's great. Walker, did I see you card up again? Did I, Robert?
Yes, you did, Your Worship, but Dan just answered that, because I was going to ask if there was something accompanying the ticket, if they got one, to tell them about the program. That's all.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Communications have prepared a press release, so for any members of the media that are monitoring tonight, they'll see that pop out tomorrow. Maybe even late tonight, I don't know. But anyway, I think that discussion's been very fulsome. Thank you, Dan. Anything further, members of council? I'm prepared to call the motion. We've got a mover and seconder on the floor, so we'll call the motion. All those in favor? And that motion carries unanimously. And on a final note on this, Dan, make sure you make a little note to mention this at the 1st of October next year, so that we can get the program off earlier, and that way we'll you know, be able to help Santa fill the sled. Good job. Okay, staff, we're now looking at Parks, Recreation, and Culture. I know that Amanda has been waiting patiently to join us. We have a Winterama update, so I'll read the recommendation, and then we will go for a mover and seconder, and then we'll hear from Amanda. Thank you. Recommendation be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clairview hereby receive PCR 018 2020, the Winterama 2021 update report for information. Mover and seconder, please. Let's see here. Lamers and then Broderick. Lamers and Broderick. Thank you. Hello, Terry. Nice to see you again. And I know Amanda wants to fill us in, so go ahead, Amanda.
Thank you, Mayor Mayor Measures, and good evening. So it's been a little bit of a long day. This report is just to outline the plans for 2021 Winterama. I don't think it's any surprise at all that we are recommending changing the format for our community events and festivals in Clairview Township. And Winterama will be coming up February 4th to the 6th of 2021. And the volunteers who are captured under our Friends of Winterama committee really wanted to ensure that the family fun and the essence of Winterama still continues, despite the fact that we're in the midst of the COVID pandemic. So at a brainstorming Zoom session, we pitched a couple different ideas, and there's been a lot of success with our family and youth activity kits that the youth center has been doing. So as a result, we're proposing the Winterama family activity kit. It would be at no cost and delivered to families using the same format that we do with all of our other youth center kits. And the Winterama family activity kit would be based on the key elements of Winterama. So there will be a food component like the pancake breakfast or the spaghetti dinner. There will be children's activities, cards to represent the euchre tournament. Some of our volunteers want to put together family-friendly jokes and a playlist, really just to bring out the essence of Winterama. We think it'll be a huge success. We're also going to continue with our pandemic penguin, the new Winterama buttons that will come out in 2021. And which I think is going to be, again, a big hit. And lucky for us, we have a lot of volunteers with the New Lowell Legion, and they had a very successful poppy distribution campaign. So we'll be looking to them for words of advice on how we can conduct the distribution of the buttons in a safe and responsible way. This is all just going to be part of our 2021 operating budget. In the report, I do mention the United Way grant as a possibility. However, we've heard back that this portion will not be funded by the United Way. They're not funding individual events and activities, or sorry, individual events and festivals. However, because Winterama already has a operating budget, we'll just use that allocation for 2021. So I'm happy to have any questions or any comments from members of council.
All right. Well, first of all, acknowledge the great effort of the volunteers from our friends of the Winterama Committee. And we really appreciate them still showing their great interest in the event. But it is a disappointing decision, but it's expected and respected that we have to do that. So thank you for that report, and thank you for representing us there. I see there are some requests. They're all coming around. So let's go with McKechnie, Leishman, Lamers. Go ahead, Doug.
Okay, thank you, Your Worship. Amanda, I'm looking at the financial impact here. Every time I go to one of the staff reports, I go right to the bottom of the financial impact. So it says $8,000 allocation from taxation. So do we already have that money? And I was just wondering too, we still have about $5,000 left over from the outdoor rink that hasn't been spent. I'm wondering if we can maybe put that money towards the 8,000, that 5,000 from the outdoor rink towards the $8,000. Just, can you give me an outline of where that money's coming from, that 8,000?
Amanda, maybe send that to Terry if you like, or Amanda, what's your call on that?
I was just about to say, I can speak to the fact that the $8,000 is the annual contribution in the typical operating budget. That's been the funded amount from the township for the past 3 years that I've been involved with Winterama. I'm not sure, maybe Terry, if you want to jump in about reallocating from other budget lines.
Mr. Vashon?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Your Worship. I mean, like Amanda said, we do have the money, Councillor McKechnie. So I don't know if we need to put any money from any other pots of money at this time. Although that's been, that's the next item on the agenda. So we don't know for a fact yet if there's actually going to be a leftover, but I think we're okay with the operating budgets that we have already in place.
Okay, fair enough. I trust you. Thanks very much.
All right, Councillor Leishman is up next, and then Lamers. And there you are, John. You were gone, but okay, go ahead, Connie.
Yes. Amanda, do you have any idea how they're going to distribute the buttons, and are they going to charge the $2 again like they always do? That's one question.
Amanda?
Yes, Councillor Leishman. So safe and responsible distribution will probably be done with a few of our partners. So at the local businesses that normally take the buttons, at this point, there isn't any reason why they won't accept the buttons and the coin boxes. So what the Legion has done in the past with the poppies was they collected cash in the Poppy buckets, but then no volunteer handled that cash for 3 days, so that there was a little bit of a waiting period between the volunteer counting the money and touching the money versus at the time of collection. The other thing that the Legion did do quite successfully was they just had a drive-by donation. We think that people will still donate towards the buttons because it's been 40 years in the making. So I don't think that that's going to necessarily change, but of course we're not asking for that at this point because we're not giving a service in return for wearing your buttons. So typically for everyone on council and for those watching, if you pay for your button, you get to participate in all of the free community events at Winterama. This is just more of a gesture of goodwill that you're going to continue to contribute to the Winterama activities. And certainly just to kind of keep the spirit going that we still have the buttons available. If someone asks for a button and either doesn't have cash on them because we're all in a cashless system or are unable to afford it, we're not going to deny that. So it's just purely on the honor system.
You kind of answered the other question, but I was going to ask if I like the idea of the kits. I think they're great. I'm glad that the committee thought about this outside the box. This is terrific. But if someone offered a donation, you're not going to refuse, I kind of gathered.
That's correct, Councillor Leishman. We're not going to not accept donations. Winterama over the past 40 years has successfully participated in other fundraising initiatives. So regularly there's been contributions to, say, Camp Bucko. We've contributed to the New Lowell Church, Girl Guides, the recreation park itself. So if there's an opportunity to accept donations, then we will certainly accept those and acknowledge those contributions and then redirect the funds to other community-wide projects like what we've done in the past.
Thank
and that would be under the advisement of the Friends of Winterama Committee volunteers.
Yes, of course. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you, Amanda. Councillor Lamers is next. I'm looking for anybody else. Okay, Councillor Lamers, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, it's going to be a different year this year, like everything else, but we're still going to go ahead with it. We can't miss it. And I was looking for the design of the button. You didn't put it in our minutes. And I didn't hear anywhere if we were still doing the tickets this year, the draw tickets.
Amanda.
Certainly. So Councillor Lamers, my apologies. I'll send out the pandemic penguin button design once again to the committee. And I'll include members of council so that you can see where we're going with this concept. And then the 50-50 draw, I actually have left that in the hands of the Legion. The Legion is ultimately the lottery license holder for the draw. And at this point, their facility does remain closed due to COVID. So it will just be under the responsibility of the Legion members if they decide to take that on. But I can certainly follow up in a separate email and circle back on that.
Mm-hmm.
The lottery license isn't the responsibility of the township. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. But I'll follow up with the volunteers that are responsible for it.
Right on. All right. Any other members of council? All right. Oh, yes, Councillor Walker, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to say, whoever's looking after buttons, put 5 in my folder and I will donate the $10 for it. That covers my household. So the kids like buttons. So just to do that, please, in the folder in the town hall. Thank you.
There you go. The Walker family leading the charge once again. Thank you for that.
Will do. They'll come out in January around the same timeline as normal. But thank you very much, Councillor Walker. I'll make sure of that.
Good job. If there's nobody else, I've got 2 other questions I have for Amanda. Amanda, the other couple of fundraising things that happen at Winterama every year, the merchants that are in the United Church, those people, unfortunately, they're having a really rotten season, are they? The whole COVID situation has just decimated the whole craft business, and I guess there's no way that that is the type of thing that could be held at this time of year. Is that right?
So, Your Worship, no, at this time, I would advise against in-person craft and vendor fairs. There is some grassroots discussion to do some sort of online or artist activity in February, March to try to capture some of those. But because of the ongoing crisis, we just don't know what that's going to look like. So I would advise against it at this point, and we can reconvene and brainstorm into the new year.
Okay. Now that brings me to the point that I don't know if you heard earlier in the meeting where the deputy mayor spoke about the Station on the Green passing a resolution that moving into orange, that any indoor activities would be canceled. And so that's something that I hope that Friends of and the United Church would also consider that too, that's really not a good idea. And the last one is something that my wife participates in at Winterama, and it's done very well. The Camp Bucko fundraiser through the fire department auction. Are they even looking at doing that an online auction? Is there any opportunity for them to do that?
The Firefighters Association, at our last call, they're still just looking at alternatives. Again, there's a lot of just uncertainty. So speaking to Councillor Leishman's point, if there's going to be any donations, we'll certainly collect them and then make sure that the charities that we normally support will continue to be supported. But at this point, the township, we don't have the capacity to handle an online auction platform. So it would be something that our department would propose, I don't believe. Certainly it would have to be something that either the Firefighters Association or Camp Bucko themselves would have to initiate. And then we would just be a supporting partner as we've normally done.
Okay, I just want to mention them because they work very hard at the Winterama every year as well. So thank you to them. All right, Council, we've had a good review. Thank you, Terry, for joining us on this discussion. And Amanda, always good to see you, and thank you for all the work you're doing. Members of Council, we've got a motion in front of us. I'm prepared to call the motion if there's anything further. All those in favor? And that motion carries unanimously. Thank you. All right, we have another. Thank you. We have another item on Parks, Recreation, Culture. This one was briefly mentioned earlier. Recommendation be it resolved that Council of the Township of Clearview hereby one, receive PCR 019-2020. It's the Newell Outdoor Rink Boards report for information. And item 2, approve the purchasing of outdoor rink boards for the Newell Outdoor Rink from Iron Sleek Rink Systems as per their quote received. And I'll look for a mover and seconder on this to finish this project. Let's go with Broderick and Deneen. Broderick and Deneen on this one. And Terry, you want to review your report? I've never heard of this company before, by the way, so happy to hear that we're reaching out there. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. So yes, sticking with the activities down there in New Lowell, this is a very exciting project. Obviously, the cement pad has been poured. So our firemen are looking forward towards building that pad. So when back in 2019, when council approved this cement pad project, the project was just for the cement pad because we didn't know how much it was going to cost back then to build this pad. And now we know we spent approximately $50,000 to build that pad. But the next phase of evolution, I suppose, is the boards. And we sourced out a bunch of companies. Only 2 got back to us. And one is within the leftover money that was not spent. So council budgeted $75,000. We spent approximately 50. So there's approximately 25,000 left over. Again, the approval was just for the pad. So we're here this evening asking council if they would support the boards and add that extra feature to that pad.
Thank you, Terry. Yeah, any questions on the report? It's a good report, and it's nice to see it. Oh, Deputy Mayor Burton, I see your card. Anybody else? Go ahead, Barry. Phyllis, I see you.
I would support that motion, and I'll move that motion.
Okay. I think we've already got it on the floor. That's good. Councillor Janine, would you like to
I
jump in?
just wanted to ask through your worship to Terry. Terry, it's in US dollars. I don't know. I'm just a little leery. Do they have that in stock? Are they going to be able to provide that? Just asking, have they given you a definite delivery? And cautiously optimistic here, but just asking.
Certainly, that's a really good logistical problem. Terry,
Yes,
what's your confidence in the delivery on that?
Yeah, through your worship, to Councilor Deneen, an excellent question. We've been on the phone with them the last couple of weeks. So it's been I'll admit it's been a bit of a challenge to contact them every day, but we're assured that there's approximately 2 to 3 week delivery. So we're hoping that they come through with that. They do have it in stock, Councilor Deneen, to answer that question. It's just the shipping company. As long as they can hold their end of the bargain, we should be in good shape.
Okay, keep us up to date on that, Terry, and I'm sure it'll be interesting to hear. Councillor Lamers had a card there. Did you go ahead? And then go ahead, John.
In your report, are we looking at page 9? Is that the boards we're getting?
Page 9. Yes. Yep. The pictures that you see are the exact boards we're getting, Councilor Lamers.
Looks like they have a basher board in the bottom there, and then there's like aluminum and steel that holds them together. Is that right?
Yep.
Yeah. How's that look, John Lamers?
Yeah, the only concern I had was just the 20-inch sides. There's 40 or 42-inch ends, but only 20-inch sides.
Terry, does it not say that it's 43 inches? I think that's what it said in the report.
Yeah, 42 inches high, your worship.
42, that's what it is, 42.
42. Yeah.
Does that help you, John?
Yeah, I thought it said the 42-inch tall ends and 20-inch sides. Is it 42 all the way around?
I think, through your worship, I think there were some sections that were a little lower than others, Councilor Lamers. Getting the snow out, so they don't have to shovel the snow so high. So there are some reduced sections in certain spots. So it's not 42 all the way around, but there's some certain sections that it's just 20 inch to allow for the snow blowers or the shoveling to get out. It's more of it's a kind of a new way of doing it.
I get it. Okay, that makes more sense.
But if you
John,
want,
are you comfortable with that, Mr. Lamers? You follow what that is? So the end boards will be 42 and portions of the middle boards will only be 20.
Yeah, like you got 38 42-inch boards and 56 20-inch boards. So page 9 pretty well describes what it is: 20-inch sides and 42 ends.
Okay. I think it'll look slick.
very
You know,
well.
Yeah, it'll be good to see it done, and the lower sides will help shovel the snow out.
Pretty impressive, isn't it, folks? When you think about this, it's been 2 years since John, as Councillor Lamers, brought this motion forward at the end of a budget discussion. So it just shows it takes a little bit of time to get things done, but I'm really glad it's getting done right. Good job.
And in this time, we need all the outdoor space that we can use.
Darn right. Darn right. Thank you. Councillor Leachman.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's great. Congratulations, New Lowell. You finally get your pad. I'm so glad for you. Way to go, John. I wish other communities would step up. If any other communities would come forward and raise some money for their own arena or their own rinks with the boards, that would be great. We'd love to see these arenas in all the communities. This going back to Deputy Mayor Burton's remark last council meeting about rinks in other communities. I think the New Lowell community set a good example. So thank you so much.
Yes, Terry, go ahead, Terry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I forgot to mention in my opening remarks, Your Worship, that what's another benefit about these boards is that they're durable, but they're quite light. And our plans are to remove sections over the course of the summertime to perhaps engage with the farmers market to actually use that space as well, make it more of a multi-use type of facility. So these are quite easily to remove, put back in. They're not like your traditional wood style, which, you know, they break or they snap. This is designed to be able to remove quite easily if required. So we're hoping that's going to add an attractiveness to the farmers markets as well.
Okay, that's great. All right, anything further? Did I miss somebody or anybody? I do one question I have, Terry, and that's in regards to the maintenance on these, as well as the storage of said units that are going to be removed. Have you worked that into 2021 operating, as well as perhaps even securing storage space for any of these panels?
Thank you, Your Worship. So, I mean, the panels will be, you know, most of it will be left up year round.
Yeah.
For some of the sections that we do remove, I haven't put much thought yet into where we could store it, but I know that the Public Works garage has ample storage for the boards that we would remove if required.
Okay. Again, you've got to work with your friends over there at Public Works. Okay. You know, come on. They got storage problems too. So you managers got to work this out.
We have lots of space. We work well together.
Okay, no problem. Members of council, this has been a good discussion. As Councillor Leishman said, we're really happy that this is finally getting done. So keep us up to date, Terry, on the delivery, and if there's any issues with our friends in America, you know, it is a transition going on down there right now anyway. So members of council, I've got a motion. The mover was Broderick, and I believe seconded by Deneen. And so all members are here, so I'll call the motion. All those in favor? Thank you. The motion carries. Thank you, council. Thank you, Terry, and your department. Okay, council. Bylaws. We got a few bylaws to get through here, and then we're good. Bylaw number 20-81. That's regarding 205 Prescott Drive. 221, 223, 225 Mowat. Recommendation be it resolved that bylaw number 20-81, being a zoning bylaw amendment for lands described as 205 Prescott Drive, 221, 223, and 225 Mowat Street North, be presented and read a first, second, and third time and finally passed on the 23rd of November 2020. And I have a mover and seconder on the bylaw. That'd be Leishman and Walker. Leishman and Walker. You've heard the bylaw. I'm prepared to call the motion. All those in favor? And that bylaw carries. Thank you. Okay, staff. This one is a leftover from our last meeting. Item number 20-82, the erection of a stop sign, concession 2, Sunnydale and Hogback Road. Recommendation be it resolved that bylaw number 20-82, being a bylaw to provide for the erection of a stop sign, be presented and read a first, second, and third time and finally passed on this 23rd day of November 2020. Before I ask for mover and seconder, I just want to clarify that this was a good discussion, council, and the direction that came from the discussion was to create this bylaw. I've had supplemental discussions with our staff in regards to that intersection. And from the discussion, one of the points that was raised was that Councillor Broderick mentioned that perhaps we need to work with the county about maybe securing some property to realign that intersection in the future. So my discussion with the staff was that council has made a decision to move ahead with this, and if we pass this bylaw, we will. But the aspect of the staff is that they're thinking that either more needs to be done or more work needs to be done to make this intersection truly work better and more effectively. And so I would look at this move right here as a move to create awareness in the community and awareness that there's an intersection that needs to have some attention, and to influence drivers to slow down at this intersection. So additional to the recommendation that was in the original motion, Mr. Lamers, the business of the flashing red lights, I would encourage the staff to install large signs that say stop ahead and all those MTO requirements to make sure that that stop sign be effectively and safely installed to meet all the requirements at this time. So I just wanted to share that with members of council, that that's a commentary I brought forward when I met with staff. I met with Mike and Dan, and I had a brief conversation with Steve on it. But I see Mike has joined us. So again, before I ask for mover and seconder on a bylaw, I'll ask for Mike for any comments, if you would.
Thank you, Your Worship. Staff are certainly respectful of council making a decision and understand there's a perceived safety issue at the intersection. I really would be remiss in my duties if I didn't point out that the guidelines that staff follow to install stop signs, there are two specific conditions that this site basically says don't do it. That's being an 80 zone and being at an intersection that doesn't meet at 90 degrees with the crossroad. It also says that while you may stop some collisions from side to side, you could cause some collisions from rear-ending, people not aware of the stop sign. So that's what I was trying to relay, that, you know, if staff could bring a report to council, that's what we wrote abroad, but we will follow council's direction. We just want council to be aware of the of why staff are concerned with the decision. Thank you.
All right, so I have a question then for Dan. And again, respectfully, for everyone's knowledge, Mike is the head of the department. Dan is the road superintendent for the Township of Clearview. So for Dan, is it my understanding that under your authority, you could adjust the speed on that road to 50 or 80? Is that correct? That's the ability of you as the, without council direction, you can change the speed as the superintendent?
Thank you, Your Worship. No, I'm not aware of that.
Okay, that question was asked of me and I wanted to ask it of you. So you don't believe that to be the case?
No, it would have to be a bylaw passed by council for that purpose. In a rural zone as it is, it would have to come through council.
Okay, so I just want to clarify that because it was asked of me about why staff can't change it. And I know that there are some areas. Mr. Sage has joined us.
perhaps Mr. Sage is more experienced at this than I am. So, Your Worship,
okay.
Maybe I have a different answer from Mr. Sage.
Again, I'm not trying to persuade council in any other way. I just want to point out that council's made a decision and I passed unanimously, so it's a clear decision. I just want to make sure that staff understand the responsibility that we're going to be putting on them to bring forward the best advice they have to make that intersection work. So Mr. Sage, do you have a comment about speed on that road? Can we reduce that speed, or can the superintendent of the roads reduce the speed?
So there sometimes is some gray areas over who and how a reduction of speed occurs. So there are two steps. So number one is the Ministry of Transport has specific guidelines between 80s and 50s. So if you wanted to take that road, and either concession 2 or the Hogback or any other rural road for that matter, from an 80 to a 50, that would be done, as Dan indicated, coming back to council for a resolution. The uniqueness of the Highway Traffic Act is that any other speed consideration other than 80 to 50 or 50 to 80, quite frankly, requires a bylaw of council. So there are two processes, but both would have to come for council for some sort of resolution.
Okay. All right, so that helped clarify with me answering the question that was asked of me, what steps need to be done. So council, this bylaw is presented in front of us and we can pass this bylaw at this time. We can also defer the bylaw until such time as we pass a resolution that reduces the speed, or we can defeat the bylaw. So there's a couple of things that can happen here. So again, I'm just putting this discussion forward before we actually have a motion. So I hope that you understand my ask in this. I see Councillor Deneen is in there. Go ahead, Councillor Deneen.
Not contradicting what anybody's said, and I appreciate Mike in his 80-kilometer-an-hour road. It's the sight lines there that are really bad. but I've lived with the 10th line all my life, and I understand the hogback or whatever the road is called down in New Lowell. The sight lines are horrible, but the 10th line, we've got 4-way stops on that all the way down, and it's 80 kilometers, and it's just a speedway. And the 4-way stops, like I said, they work. Some people will drive right through them, but then the other people coming the other way would probably stop. And that's what we hope for anyway, living on this road for pretty much most of my life. And we had to get used to 4-way stops on 6th Street and the 10th line. I drove through that many a time, stop, look both ways and go, or just drive through because there was nobody else there. So it's a learning process for all of the community, and something's better than nothing. And I understand that the sight lines are just horrible there, but I don't know. I appreciate what they're saying, but the 10th line too has always been a bone of contention, and it's all 4-way stops.
Okay, again,
It helps. It helps.
okay. So again, I'm not trying to mix things up here. I'm hoping that council hears that we are still in this traffic study that we're going to be bringing forward, and the community has heard this, that we will be bringing forward some recommendations to change some speeds on some roads in our township. And so there will be a kind of a comprehensive approach once we receive this report. This is a particularly interesting intersection that has had accident after accident over years and years and years, going back to 1952 was when I was told of it was one that happened there with a fatality. So Mike, I think that if council passes this bylaw, that you would continue to bring forward information about making this intersection a safer intersection, and would endeavor to follow the direction of council as given. Is that correct, Mike?
Absolutely, Your Worship. I would ask for maybe direction to have staff reduce the speed at that intersection to 60 kilometers an hour at the next council meeting. If we're going to do this, we would like to do everything we can to reduce the exposure to liability from the township.
So again, staff can bring forward reports at any time, and they could do that. The other aspect is that we're still waiting for our comprehensive traffic study. And so to roll out all of these speed changes that we certainly are going to be seeing, it would be my hope that we do it all at once so that we don't complicate and confuse people all over the township, that we're going to have a bit of an advertising campaign to do that and promote the fact that we're changing speeds to address speed concerns. But my thought is that by passing this bylaw, we would then have a clear understanding with our staff that they have the responsibility or have the opportunity to bring back a recommendation to council to continue to make the intersection a safe intersection. That's where I'm going with this. Deputy Mayor, you had your card up.
You pretty much made the comments I wanted to make, so we're.
All right, so Mr. Lamers, you started this, so I'd like to hear your comment. Go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, this is long overdue.
Yes.
And once we get these installed, I'm hoping the township will go ahead and start looking at more improvements, pushing that bank back, or as Councillor Broderick brought up, looking at the county for getting some land to better improve the intersection. This is step one of many to try to improve this intersection.
Okay, Councillor Patterson's next.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I appreciate the mayor's, you made most of the comments about the comprehensive traffic. Well, I've been impatient in bringing things to council where I thought it was dangerous, and my motions, a couple of them have been deferred until the traffic. I still maintain that if we see a particularly dangerous site, that we should do something about it in anticipation of that being covered by the traffic management study. However, I raised the issue of the night vision and putting a light in. And I just wanted to confirm either it's necessary, I would like to add this, or I took the staff's advice that they were probably going to put a street light at that intersection anyways, without direction from council. So I just want to confirm staff's position on that.
All right, the three gentlemen are here. This intersection has been talked about a long time. Lights are not new. I'll start with Dan. Dan, what do you think? Is the light something that you would do anyway?
Thank you, Your Worship. And from my understanding, that was part of the request of the resolution that Councillor Lamers brought forward at the last meeting. So we've taken that step as far as obtaining quotes. We've received quotes for the four flashing red lights so far. We're waiting quotes for the signage that's required for that intersection. So the larger stop sign, stop ahead, the new starburst, 4 directions. And also a quote, 2 steps on the street light. Quote for the street light and the installation of the street light, plus we need authorization or permission from Hydro One to install that street light. So there is a bit of a process there. So it still will be a few weeks following, if council were to pass this bylaw, it's still going to be a number of weeks before we can get before we get the materials to fully install this intersection. So most likely not going to be before the end of the year. Hopefully it will. Perhaps I suspect it's going to be after the new year sometime.
Okay, so Tom, does that answer your question about the lights? Okay, all right. So council, I don't like delaying things. I think that it's very appropriate. I think that we followed our procedures, and that is that we've received it. We've had the debate. We've actually passed it unanimously. So I'm asking, I'm just putting it out there. I'm prepared to vote and ask for a vote on this if you want. But I'm asking if you would be comfortable making a deferral on this until we receive some results from our traffic study to actually enact it. I think there's pretty clear direction from council that council knows that we want this intersection to be 4-way. And Councillor Lamers, respectfully, we're supporting you on this for sure. It's been talked about for years, and that's why I want to support it. But I think it's appropriate that we consider some of the advice that's come from our professionals here, and consider whether we want to just hold this one off until we release our full program. I'm looking for anybody. Councillor Lamers, I want to start with you, if I may.
I think we should go ahead with it now and have them proceed in the future with following up to improve it.
All right, thank you. Councillor Patterson, and then Broderick.
Yeah, I don't want to be at the council meeting when we hear that we had an accident and we still haven't put the work in. This is a known problem. If a study came back and said we don't need to put anything in, I think most of the council would object to it anyways. Do it.
All right, Councillor Broderick. Your mic's muted again there, bud.
Thank you, Your Worship. I view this strictly as a temporary measure until we can come up with a proper permanent fix like the traffic circle. Yeah, it is not going to resolve the issue. Something like the traffic circle will. Can't do that immediately. Yeah, I would be in favor of moving forward with this, but fixing it. We need the proper fix.
Well, we're all kind of grasping for fixes here. I get it.
Yeah, Yeah, but a four-way stop to me is never the answer. A traffic circle certainly is. That's my 2 cents worth.
I appreciate that. Councillor McKechnie?
So I'm just a little bit confused. So have you put forward a motion that we defer this until after the traffic management study? Is that what are we going to be doing on here?
Okay, therein lies the procedural problem, is that I can't put forward a amendment or motion. I suggested it, so I'm looking for members of council if they wanted to do it. If they don't, I will be happy to transfer the chair. So what's your thought there, councillors? Go ahead.
Okay, so I'll tell you what, just so you don't have to transfer the chair, I'll put forward that motion that we defer this until after the traffic management study, and we can deal with that motion now, and then we can just discuss that, and then we can deal with the other motion later. So I'll put forward that motion.
All right, thank you, councillor. Is there a seconder for the motion? A motion to defer. Okay, Councillor Walker has put up his hand. All right, so the deferral, just to be clear then, would be until such time as we receive our traffic management study report that is pending. I think it's something in January right now. That's what we're looking at. Is anybody with any comments on the deferral idea? Not seeing any. All right, members of council, there's a deferral on the table to defer the bylaw. As you've heard, it's been a good discussion, and I appreciate your patience and understanding. So I'm going to call the motion then. Motion on the deferral. Can I call for the motion? All those in favor? And those opposed? Okay, so that is not deferred. Then I will now call for a mover and seconder on the bylaw. Can I have a mover and seconder on the bylaw? That'd be Lamers and the deputy mayor. Lamers and the deputy mayor, I'm going to read it again just for the record. Recommendation, be it resolved that bylaw number 20-82, being a bylaw to provide for the erection of a stop sign, be presented and read a first, second, and third time and finally passed on the 23rd day of November 2020. Okay, and I am now, since there's really no discussion or debate, once we've got a motion of bylaw on the floor, I'll call the motion. All those in favor? Those opposed? Thank you. The bylaw carries, and so I would ask staff to continue to provide their due diligence and bring forward information to this council as we require your help. Thank you very much, Mike. All right, council, thank you for the discussion on that. I want you to know that it was a difficult sort of couple of days for me around here, because I don't like going against staff recommendations, but I respect them and I respect you just as much. So thank you. Council, item number 13 is our notice of motion. There's nothing on our table unless there's an item of new business. No, nothing there. Item 14 is the bylaw to confirm the proceedings of this council meeting, which is recommended be it resolved that bylaw number 20-80, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the November 23rd, 2020 council meeting, be presented and read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed on the 23rd of November 2020. Mover and seconder on this confirmatory. That'll be Broderick and Leishman. Broderick and Leishman. You've heard the bylaw. All those in favor? And that bylaw carries. And we have a motion to adjourn, which is item number 15. Recommendation, be it resolved that the council meeting be adjourned at 8. What is that? 40. What is that? 8:48? 8:49. Yeah, 49. Just popped up on my computer. 8:49 p.m. Mover and seconder. Tom Patterson and John Broderick. And all those in favor? Thank you very much. Thanks, council. We will see you all at the budget meeting, which is next Monday. Deputy Mayor Burton, I'll see you tomorrow for our county council meeting. And thank you all members of staff